Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most unforgiving FNAF fan games ever made. These games expect you to learn through observation, experimentation, and failure, never slowing down to explain themselves. Some of these throw you straight into the deep end, and that's exactly what makes them so memorable, so let's dive into them. What is really the hardest Five Nights at Freddy's game of all time? Hopeless Pursuit? One Night at Frogger's? Who really knows for sure? But I think when people think of that question, they tend to think strictly about max modes, which I think is a little disingenuous. I think there's a big difference between the hardest FNAF game and the hardest max mode. For example, I think FNAF 1 is much harder than FNAF 4, but FNAF 4's max mode is undoubtedly harder than FNAF 1's max mode. So saying FNAF 4 is harder than FNAF 1 just doesn't really make sense. And when you look at challenging FNAF games in that way, which is the most challenging all the way through? I think we all know the one single FNAF game that comes to mind. It needs no introduction, and I've been getting asked to play it for over a year at this point. That game is Post Shift 2 pre-patch version 1.0.0. I never wanted to make this video, yet here I am. This is by far the longest, most painful video I have ever made. So shut up, relax, as we jump right in to Post Shift 2. Before we even start talking about Night 1, there's something I need to get out of the way. I'm sure everybody already knows, but this game is literally massive. So big, in fact, that the developer had to export the game in 2 separate files since the entire thing couldn't be exported in one. Another thing I want to get out of the way really early is that I'm going to be very negative in this video. What else is new, right? But I do want to make it clear before I even say anything is that just because I say mean things about this game doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. People call it the hardest FNAF game ever made, even knowing that there are a whole lot more that are more difficult. This game earned that title for a reason, and it's not because it's a bad game. It was made by one guy over the span of 3 years. That is impressive, and this game is impressive. All right, now that I got that out of the way, and we know Reddit is going to ignore it when they bitch and moan about me not stroking the dick of every game I cover, we can actually start talking about the game the way I would any other game. Let's just start off by talking about the sheer size of the map in this game. The first 3 nights take place in an area of the game called Aisle 1. Apparently, just staying in the office with our feet nailed to the floor was just too easy. So now we have to walk around the whole fucking building as slowly as possible. I'll get to that in a second. Let's go over the room that we'll actually be starting in first. It's called the souvenirs area, and it's completely worthless as pretty much nothing happens here. However, it is in this room where we're greeted to hands down the most terrifying thing in this entire game. This massive fucking text box. This text box right here is how the game explains its mechanics to you. No phone call, no figuring it out for yourself, just dropping a goddamn novel on you and expecting you to read the whole thing. You might think to yourself, you know, I play a lot of FNAF games. I'm sure I don't actually need to read this. I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. No, the fuck you won't. This is hands down the most confusing game I've ever played in my entire life. I'm both excited to talk about it and not excited to talk about it because, oh my god, I want to complain, but my poor little fingers are going to kill me since I'm going to be writing this entire video in one sitting, and I quite literally type out every single word that I read in these videos. The only place you can go from this room is the aisle end. Hands down, the most important room throughout this game. This is because it connects directly to 2 other incredibly important rooms, the sanitation room and the construction room. The sanitation room is to the left and the construction room is to the right. It's about right now where I want to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to talking about moving in this game. That being long as fuck, shit ass, fuck ass animations that play whenever you want to go anywhere. It's almost like every time the player moves, an earthquake that levels a 5 on the Richter scale goes off, causing our player to shake and jolt their head in every possible direction, making me so motion sick I was unable to beat this game myself without throwing up. And no, I'm not joking. This is quite literally the reason I avoided this game for so long, and yes, I seriously didn't beat it because I was getting so sick from these animations. And the best part? These animations take so long to play out, and the map is large so that a majority of the time when you need to respond to something quickly on the other side of the map, it'll take a solid 30 seconds to do that, making your blood pressure go through the roof every single time. To get to the sanitation room, like I said, you have to go left from the aisle end. However, you don't just have to sit through one movement animation, you actually have to sit through two, because the first room you enter is a filler room and is literally completely fucking useless. Guys, I'm already mad, and we've only just begun. And of course, once you actually get to the sanitation room, you're hit with another text box the size of your mom's ass. Now, getting to the construction room, I'll tell you, is actually pretty funny. Once again, like I've already said, all you have to do is turn right from the aisle end, and this time you don't have to go through a useless room. Once you get to the construction room, you have the option of going into a back room area of the construction room. However, it's useless. So useless, in fact, that the game actually tells you that you should never go there because there's quite literally no point. So like, why the fuck did you even add it, bro? What were you thinking? But even then, we're still not done talking about the map. I'm almost done with the third page of this script, and I haven't even finished talking about the places we can go yet. I get the sneaking suspicion this is going to be a really long one, guys. Buckle up. Going back to the aisle end, we can turn around to enter the temporary aisle. From there, we can move forward into another section of the temporary aisle. And this section, and only this section of the temporary aisle, can we look in between some shelves to see if there are any animatronics getting ready to finger my butt. But I'm gonna talk about those characters a bit later. We still have a lot more to talk about first. From there, we can move forward into the promotional area. And finally, from this area, we can turn left and check if any characters are holding the lube in their hands, looking at me up and down and licking their lips and shit. With the building being out of the way now, we have to bring up something very important. That being, how do we actually complete this night? Because unlike most FNAF games, this game decided to be a little bit different in quite literally the worst way possible. In order to complete a night in Post Shift 2, you actually have to do two things. The first is pretty simple, just survive until 6 a.m. However, the next thing you have to do really makes that first task seem pretty pointless. You have to complete 3 different tasks around the building using something you have called a halfless repair drone. And this drone is controlled by our employee maintenance monitor, or EMM as I will be referring to it from now on. Now, we need to just take a second to relax. Guys, if you're not ready for some old school, classic Dexter White complaining, I highly suggest you come back to this video a bit later because that's going to be what approximately the remaining of this video is going to be. The requirement of using your EMM to complete tasks brings up hands down the biggest problem this game has to offer. It tells you literally fucking nothing. Do you want to know how to open the EMM? Well, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is hover over and click the left corner of your screen. Dexter, is that the top or bottom corner? Would you believe me if I told you the game didn't tell you? And better yet, would you believe me if I told you that quite literally the only time it tells you how to open the EMM is in the first room of the game in one sentence in a giant paragraph of text and literally never again? Would you believe me if I said that? Well, you should, because that's literally what happens. How in the name of fuck did the developer think that this was a good way to explain this to the player? Once you leave this room for the first time, this guide will never appear again. So if you either don't read that sentence or forget what it said, you're just not even going to know what the EMM is. This is insanity. But maybe I'm nitpicking, even though I know I'm not. Let's continue. Just kidding. I'm still not done complaining yet. Do you want to know something even worse than what I just told you? After you manage to open up the EMM, the game doesn't tell you that the repair drones are important. Well, it kind of does, but it doesn't make it obvious. The only place this game tells you that the drone is important is after you click the drone repair button. Then, once in the repair drone menu, if you look at the text box on the side, only in the third paragraph does it tell you that this drone is required to complete the night. Actually, what the fuck is going on right now? Someone tell me I'm not over-exaggerating. This is terrible. You people wanted me to play this. Why? However, at least the drone tasks we have to complete are super easy. The length of the nights in this game are 6 minutes and 30 seconds, so not that bad at all. A lot better than what I was actually expecting. All 3 drone tasks you have to complete are the same and really don't require you to do anything at all. All you have to do is open the EMM, go to the repair drone, view, and then start repairing. The repair process will take place in the background while you do whatever else it is you need to do. Each task takes 1 minute and 15 seconds to complete, and once it's done, you can go back into the menu and start the next task. After doing all 3 and surviving until 6 a.m., we can move on to night 2. But wait, haven't you forgotten? We're playing a FNAF game, and I still have yet to mention a single animatronic, even though we're over 10 minutes into this video. Is that not crazy? We're this far in, and I haven't even said a character's name yet. Well, no better time than the present, that is what they say. This night introduces 3 main threats, the first being Revenant Freddy. He's probably the easiest of the 3 characters that are introduced on this night. To start, he will appear in the promotional room leaning up against a shelf. When he's here, we really don't have to worry, as the game tells us that this just means he's getting ready to attack us. When he enters this phase, one of 2 random sound cues will play, and they sound like this. Now we get to talk about how stupid the rest of the way Revenant Freddy attacks really is. Once Revenant Freddy decides to attack us, he will move to the other part of the promotional room, that part being that direction I told you that you can turn in a bit earlier. Once Revenant Freddy is here, that means he's about to kill you. However, for some reason, he plays no sound cue when moving into this position. You know, the position he gets into that actually matters. Yeah, you just have to figure that part out by yourself. Sound cue for something retarded? Yes, please. Sound cue for something important? Nah. Now we get to talk about something else that is incredibly frustrating. That being how to deal with him. The way to do it is simple. Just go to the aisle end, open the EMM, select a drone. No, not the repair drone. This is a different drone, and then target Revenant Freddy and send it off. The actual problem with this is a common recurring theme this game has, literally never telling us fucking anything at all. In order to learn that this is what we need to do, we need to open the EMM and then click on the drone to read 3 paragraphs. And that's not the end of it. In these 3 paragraphs, where exactly it explains Revenant Freddy is probably a total of 1 to 2 sentences long. What the fuck? Like I already said, Revenant Freddy is the easiest character on this night. We still have 2 more to talk about, and I promise you, both of them are no less confusing. The next character to mention is Miniature Freddy. What does Miniature mean? Well, it stands for Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors. Damn. So tell me, Dexter, what does Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors Freddy do? I'm so glad you asked. Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors Freddy can attack you in 2 different places, in both the sanitation room and the construction room. Let's talk about the construction room attack first. Once Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors Freddy arrives there, this sound cue will play. Once that sound cue plays, we need to drop everything we're doing and go to the construction area just so that we can watch Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors Freddy climb out of a hole in the floor. Once Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors Freddy climbs out of the hole, a 15-second timer will appear on the screen telling us to go to the promotional area. If you don't get to the promotional area by the time that timer runs out, Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors Freddy is going to butt bang us, and we just don't want that at all. Once we get to the promotional room in time, we will survive the attack for some reason. I don't really know why this makes us survive, but it does. Cool. Now, what about the other attack that Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors Freddy can do? Once again, this attack happens in the sanitation room. Once he appears in this room, another sound cue will play letting us know he's arrived that sounds like this. Now, this attack is where it gets confusing. By the way, if you couldn't tell, both of the sound cues he plays sound exactly the same. They are slightly different, but I highly doubt you'd be able to tell them apart. Here, let's actually play a game. Now that I've shown you both of the sound cues, let's play one of them and you tell me which one it was. All right, did you make your guess as to which room that would mean Micro-Implemented Neural Activated Transferable Energy Rotors Freddy went to? Well, if you said the construction room, you'd be completely fucking wrong, because that's the sound cue he plays when he goes to the sanitation room. Anyways, once he's in the sanitation room and you get there, depending on how fast you got there will change the way this attack will play out. If you got there super quickly after the sound cue went off, when you open this vent, he'll look like he always does. Show up a little later, and for some reason, he'll have a a rabbit ear. Why? I really don't fucking know. And if we wait a really long time before opening the vent, he'll look like another character we'll mention later, Revenant Bonnie. Why does he literally transform into another character? I actually have no idea. It makes no sense at all, but let's just deal with it. After seeing which version of micro-implemented neural activated transferable energy rotors Freddy we got, we'll have to open up the EMM and answer 4 questions. These questions being, does your Minotaur have a rabbit ear yet? Does it reside within the cleaning area currently? Does it almost look like a completely different character? And would you like us to revert the Minotaur's form? Obviously, depending on which version of micro-implemented neural activated transferable energy rotors Freddy that appeared, we will have to answer these questions differently. But if we answer them all correctly, then micro-implemented neural activated transferable energy rotors Freddy will leave and we'll be safe to continue doing what we were doing. And by the way, don't worry, I'll stop saying the full acronym now. I'll just be calling him Minotaur Freddy from now on. Now we get to talk about the final and most annoying threat this night introduces, Minotaur Foxy. Holy shit, this guy actually sucks so bad it's hard to breathe just thinking about him. Minotaur Foxy, like Minotaur Freddy, can attack from 2 different places. He can either go to the promotional area or can go to that special place in the shelves we can look through in the temporary aisle. In both locations, you have to deal with him in the same way. It's just finding him that's the problem. Speaking of, once he spawns, he'll play this sound cue. Once we find Minotaur Foxy, all we have to do is open up the EMM and select Voice Constructor. From here, we will be given a sentence output. We will have to reconstruct this given sentence using the 12 buttons in the middle of the screen. The sentence we have to reconstruct will be different every attack, and this game insists on making this as difficult as possible. For example, a common phrase you'll see is "to please." However, the button you need to press uses the number 2, while the sentence will always read TWO spelled out. It's confusing for the sake of being confusing, and I fucking hate that. Also, I'm sure it's obvious, but none of the ways we defend ourselves from characters in this game make any sense at all. I'm not going to waste your guys' time by talking about how they don't make sense every time we bring up a character, but just know I do think they're all stupid. Also, just one more thing I want to complain about before we move on. This game tells you that the stupid shelf place exists and that Minotaur Foxy can appear there literally in 1 sentence in the middle of a text box in the tutorial. This is by far the biggest problem this game has. I know I've said it a lot, but it just doesn't fucking tell you anything at all. One more thing I have to mention before we move on are the bonus objectives in this game, because of course this game has those. 2 of the bonus objectives on this night are quite literally impossible to miss as long as the night is completed. Those tasks being survive Revenant Freddy twice and survive Minotaur Foxy once. And that will always happen on the first night, so you don't even have to think about it. The only other 2 tasks on this night can be failed, however, it's pretty unlikely that you will. The first requires us to beat the night optimally, and there's actually something in the night that tells you how optimal the night has been so far. And the way you keep it optimal is just by doing the drone tasks as fast as possible. The only other objective on this night is completing the night at 6 a.m. with less than 10 excess seconds. This is referring to the fact that after you reach 6 a.m., the night won't end until you finish your tasks. Once you reach 6 a.m., the game will start an excess seconds timer. So as long as you complete all 3 of the drone tasks before 6 a.m. happens, then you'll complete this objective, which, considering the tasks only take 1 minute and 15 seconds and the night is 6 minutes and 30 seconds long, this really shouldn't be a problem. Alright, with all of that out of the way, it's finally time to move on to night 2. Holy shit. We're just over halfway through the length of a normal Dxtr White video, and we're only on to night 2. Editor, I'm so sorry. Night 2 is completed in the exact same way as night 1. Finish all 3 repair drone tasks and survive until 6 a.m. However, for some reason, night 2 is 7 minutes long instead of 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Why is this the case? I have no idea. But don't let yourself get fooled into thinking this night is going to be as easy as night 1, because it's not at all. Because the AI ramping of these characters is actually ridiculous. And on top of that, we actually get 2 more characters thrown on us as well. The first threat introduced on this night is Minotaur Baby, and she is probably the easiest out of all the animatronics we've seen so far. Occasionally throughout the night, you will hear this sound cue. This tells us that Miniature Baby has appeared in the souvenirs area. Yeah, I kind of lied before when I said this room was useless. Miniature Baby is actually the only reason it isn't useless. Something about Miniature Baby is that she is way more forgiving than every other character in this game. Once you hear her sound cue play, you have a good 40 seconds before she actually kills you, giving you plenty of time to check for all other characters before going over to deal with her. The way we deal with her also isn't too hard. Once we see her standing in the corner, all we have to do is open up the EMM and go to the Emotion State tab. Once in this tab, we will press the Run Memories button, and then we can start cycling through Baby's memories. Once we find one that is happy and not depressing, we will have to lock that memory, and that will make Miniature Baby go away. Of course, this game has to follow the pattern of not teaching us a fucking thing, as this game neglects to tell us which of her 10 possible memories are positive. Spoiler alert, only 3 of them are, and this is what they look like. What about these images scream positive? I have no fucking idea, but you're just meant to figure it out, as once again, the game literally doesn't tell you ever. All it does say is that some memories have the possibility of being positive, so it seems that even the dev doesn't know why these would be positive. The only other threat introduced on this night is Revenant Bonnie. Not the weird version of Miniature Freddy we saw earlier, I mean just actually Revenant Bonnie this time. The way you know he's about to attack you is very simple, as not only does a really fucking loud sound cue play, but also a counter will appear in the top corner of the screen. Revenant Bonnie wants to play a game called One-Eyed Seek, which is this game's version of a find them on the camera mechanic, because even though there are no cameras in this game, it somehow still finds a way to make the worst fucking thing in the entire world. Once Revenant Bonnie starts his attack, the counter will randomize a number between 1 and 5. This is how many times you'll need to find Bonnie. So if you get lucky, you may only have to do it once, but if you're me, you'll have to do it 5 times every fucking time. Revenant Bonnie can spawn in 5 different areas at random: the souvenir room, the construction room, the hallway before the sanitation room, the second part of the temporary aisle, and then behind the shelf in the temporary aisle. There's no way for you to know which areas he goes to. You literally just have to guess, which, with how long the movement animations take in this game, I can promise you that Revenant Bonnie will quickly become your least favorite character. There's a reason I chose to put him in the thumbnail over anybody else. I fucking hate him. There is only literally one redeeming quality about Revenant Bonnie, and that's during an attack, he will not appear in the same area twice. Everything else about him is still RNG, and that sucks ass. I should also mention that he can be skipped by using a drone, just like Revenant Freddy. However, this drone has an incredibly small chance of actually working. So I mean, I guess do it while you're passing through looking for him, but you probably won't ever see it work. So let's go over all of the RNG that Revenant Bonnie has. Once he spawns, it's random how many times you'll have to find him. From there, it's random where he'll spawn and when he'll spawn there, so you could have him spawn on opposite sides of the map every single time. And on top of that, the item we can use to skip his attack is also completely random. This is amazing, guys. What a skill-based FNAF game. This is definitely a hard game and not just total RNG. And of course, now we get to start talking about the bonus objectives. The first one to get requires even more RNG, that being luring Revenant Bonnie away with the drone, which I just mentioned is incredibly rare to ever happen. So that's just awesome. The next bonus objective is finding both Revenant Freddy and Miniature Foxy in the promotional area. This is also RNG, since the Miniature Foxy only has a 50% chance to appear in the aisle shelf area instead of the promotional area. So yippee, we're gonna be here for the rest of our lives. The last 2 bonus objectives just require us to play like complete dog shit. The first has us complete the night with a lacking efficiency level, meaning that we just need to do the repair tasks really fucking slowly, and the second task being beating the night after we reach 6 a.m. So just let the clock reach 6 a.m. and then finish your last drone task. So these 2 objectives will probably be completed at the same time. Anyways, let's move on to night 3, shall we? The way we beat this night is exactly the same as night 2, so I won't touch on that. But there are another 2 characters added on this night, bringing the total up to 7. Fucking awesome. Love it. The actual threats introduced on this night are Remnant Chica and Remnant Foxy. And before we actually talk about them, I want to bring up something that confused me. For some reason, both Freddy and Bonnie have the name Revenant, while Chica and Foxy use the word Remnant. Why is there this change in their names? I don't have any idea, and from what I read on the wiki, it's not explicitly explained, so we're just gonna ignore it, and if I misspeak for the rest of the video and don't notice, I just don't give a fuck. But if you guys want to have fun, take a shot every time I mess it up. So let's talk about Remnant Chica first, since she's by far the easiest, but that doesn't exactly mean she's easy. And for those of you who have played this game before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Remnant Chica spawns in the construction room, but in the back area of it. Yeah, you know, that area of the construction room that the game itself told us we should never go to because it's useless. Usually I'm the one lying in these videos, but for some reason the game is the one doing the lying this time. Regardless, when Chica spawns, she will make this sound cue.
Lighting alteration detected at construction area.
Once we hear this sound cue, all we have to do is go to that corner of the construction room and stare at the hole in the floor until we see a yellow flash, which, yes, by the way, of course it's random how long this will take. Then after we see it, all we have to do is run back to the aisle end and launch a drone to distract her. So she is basically just Revenant Freddy in a different area. The only reason she's more frustrating than Revenant Freddy is because of where she's located. It takes so fucking long to get over there and so fucking long to get back that if literally any other character spawns while you're dealing with her, you are pretty much guaranteed to lose. The only other threat introduced on this night is of course Remnant Foxy, who, would you believe me, also uses that funny little area in the construction room that the game told us itself was fucking useless. Isn't that just revolutionary? I'm gonna make a FNAF game where the phone guy just fucking lies about how to deal with characters. I can just see it now. 5 Nights with Dxtr, where we have a phone guy tell us to close the door on a character, but what we actually have to do is cup our hands below our bare ass, squat down and take a shit in them, then play patty cake with the animatronic at our door. Except we're not gonna tell the player that's what we actually have to do, and we're just gonna hope that they figure out there's a poop patty cake button that's invisible in the corner of the screen until you hover over it with your mouse. God damn it, I hate this fucking game! Anyways, when Remnant Foxy spawns, he'll play this sound cue. When he does, he'll appear in the hole where Remnant Chica appears. You'll have to go over to him and look at him, then just like Remnant Chica, go deploy a drone for him. However, Remnant Foxy also has another possible way to attack us, and that's by crip walking up to us like some of the pedophiles you see on To Catch a Predator. Seriously, look at this predacious walk he has, and tell me he's not using that hook to reel in some kid's ass on the down low. Anyways, once he does walk up to us, we'll have to open up our light module. This is not inside of our EMM. Instead, it's actually another invisible button that the game basically doesn't tell you about in the bottom right corner of the screen. Once you pull this up, all you have to do is press the 3 buttons on it in order, really slowly, and then Remnant Foxy will go away. Again, why does this work? Ride my dick like a bike, that's why. Anyways, those are the only new threats on this night, which means we're free to move on to the bonus objectives. The first and fourth objectives are pretty easy. The first has us complete the night with optimal efficiency, just like night 1, and the fourth requires us to use the drone to get rid of Remnant Foxy. By the way, this has a typo in the menu, so that's cool. The other 2 threats are pretty unique, however. The first tells us to use input lag on our monitor for 3 minutes during the night. I'll talk about that one in just a second because it's really fucking weird. So let's talk about the other one first. The other one being view Remnant Chica before she attacks you. Now, of course, while I was explaining her mechanic, never once did I say that you actually see her, and that's because you don't. However, once you get back to the aisle end, before deploying the drone, you can actually turn around and see Remnant Chica standing behind you. This is all you need to do. So not very difficult at all, but it's kind of cool, I guess. Anyways, now we can talk about the input lag objective, which is really weird. I've neglected to mention something pretty important up until this point, and that's that the EMM actually has a battery life. And the more you use it, the more it decreases because that's just how power works, dumbass. Input lag is a special mode you can put your EMM into that causes your EMM to use less power throughout the night. However, at the expense of your mouse just teleporting somewhere random around the screen at random whenever it feels like it. I've not mentioned this input lag option before either because it's like completely fucking useless, but the objective forces us to use it for at least 3 minutes throughout the night. It actually sounds a lot worse than it actually is, and it makes our shit drain less power, and with how much you'll be using it during this night, that's actually much more helpful than it is hurtful. But with that, we can move on to night 4 and the second part of this game, because if you remember like 800 years ago, I mentioned that this game was too big to fit into a single game. Alright, this is where the game starts to get fucking insane, so really prepare yourself for this. Night 4 introduces a brand new area to the game and a shitload more threats to deal with. This new area is called the Miniature Containment Room or something like that. I can't remember and I'm too lazy to look it up. I know, I'm an amazing YouTuber, aren't I? This area is a lot smaller than the map we've gotten used to, but it's also only used for a single night, so that's probably why. The main room we'll see is the Containment Area, in which we can see one of the characters this night introduces versus Remnant Puppet. Turning to the right, we have some fucking boxes, and turning to the right again will show an area where we can see Remnant Balloon Boy. Going back to the main room, we can look under the desk, and I'll mention why later. And finally, turning to the left from the main room, we can climb up a ladder, which legitimately takes about 6 fucking seconds of animation time. Oh my god. And once we're up here, we have our main view of the place, and we can turn around to look at more fucking boxes. Now we can talk about how we beat this night. Well, that's pretty easy because all we have to do is survive until 6 a.m. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Did I say 6 a.m.? We actually start at 6 a.m. on this night, and for some reason we have to survive until 12. It doesn't really change much, but just thought it was something I should point out. And now is when I have to tell you the news that is going to make your penis burst like a balloon. There are 8 new animatronics on this night. Technically, a few of them we've already seen before, but of course, since we're in a new area, they do something completely different. 8 fucking characters, all brand new mechanics, and I have to learn them. That's it. I'm done. Fuck it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing it. Fuck. Damn it. Not really, of course. Just look at the length of this video. We've still got a long way to go. So let's just rip the band-aid off. So let's start by talking about the most important tool at our disposal during this night, that being the simulation monitors that we can view in the main area. Inside of this simulation is where 4 of the characters are active, these characters being Miniature Baby, Miniature Freddy, Miniature Balloon Boy, and Miniature Ballora. I'm going to talk about all of these 4 characters at the same time since they all pretty much do the exact same thing. Occasionally, any of them inside of the simulation may become pissed off about who knows what and ask you for something. On the side of the screen, you will see we have an inventory of 5 items. So if a character asks us for pizza, for example, then we have to click the pizza to give it to them. And yes, all of the characters in the simulation are humans, but if we fail to give them what they want, they will appear right next to us as animatronics and rail us from the back while using our ponytail like a handle. These 4 characters don't have any sound cues for when they're upset. However, that's where this virtual discontent percentage comes into play. For each character, whenever they get mad, they will increase this percentage by 25. This is how you know you need to go deal with one of them. Not very hard, but they're really just a problem because of the goddamn animations we'll have to deal with. Now we can move on to talking about the 4 remaining animatronics that are always physically right next to us. Let's start by talking about the easiest, that being the Miniaturinas. They appear under the desk, and they only appear if either your surrounding activity or your virtual discontent reach 30%. And once they appear, they will never leave. To prevent them from attacking you, all you have to do is occasionally check on them so they don't kill you. However, let me tell you a little secret. If they ever appear, you should just restart the night because that's a lot easier than having to actually constantly check on these fuckheads. It's a lot more convenient to just make sure these percentages never reach 30%. The next easiest character is a Remnant Balloon Boy, and he's easy because he's just the Miniaturinas, except he's always there. He's located directly behind us, and all we have to do is stare at him to prevent him from moving. So you should really just spend a majority of the night doing exactly that. The next character I want to talk about is Miniature Puppet. Just like pretty much every other character so far, Miniature Puppet also makes no sound cue when she arrives. Instead, you'll be able to tell she's spawned once the surrounding activity increases by 5%. When she does, you'll want to quickly move up the ladder and see her floating in the air, farming aura. Once we stare at Miniature Puppet long enough, another character named Venta Puppet will appear directly in front of us and start exhaling his rank-ass breath right in our face. Once Venta Puppet appears, we'll have to spam click the outer edges of our screen to like escape his grasp or something. I really don't know. And once we do that enough, both of them will leave and our surrounding activity will return to around 10%. And finally, we only have one more threat to talk about, and that is Remnant Puppet. She is by far the most difficult character on this night, so let's just get her out of the way. She will appear on the main monitor directly in front of us, and using this monitor is how we track her location. In stage 1, the monitor will say observe. In stage 2, she will get closer and the monitor will say its name like vowels when there's an E at the end of the word. What? Am I retarded? Bro, I must be losing it. I've been staring at Google Docs for too long because what the fuck did I just write? However, stage 3 is when things get bad. The monitor will change to say I am above, and it's at this time where we need to click the screen a fuck ton of times until the text Y/N shows up. Multiple times means like fucking 30, by the way, so get ready to break your mouse in half. Once the YN text appears, you have to press Y and then move up to the top area of the map. Then we have to turn around and watch the puppet crawl behind the box back into the 9th circle of hell where it came from. And that's it. I said she was the hardest, but that's really just because of how quickly you have to click about 7 million times. With all of the threats out of the way, we can move on to the bonus objectives. And thankfully, 2 of them are super easy. The first has us escape Venta Puppet, which is literally required to beat the night anyways, so that's cool. And the second is dying to Remnant Puppet, which is also not hard. However, the other 2 objectives on this night are actually pretty fucking hard. The first being getting no errors while doing the simulations. That means you can't mess up and give an unhappy character the wrong item, or give a happy character an item at all because they didn't ask for one. This is only hard because understanding which each item is kind of weird since the pictures make no sense. And finally, the hardest objective in both this night and the entire game so far is to not have Remnant Balloon Boy move from his starting position throughout the whole night. This just means we have to stare at this fat, ugly piece of shit for the majority of the night. However, this becomes really difficult when we factor in that this is entirely dependent on RNG and hoping that we don't get attacked by 2 other characters at the exact same time. And that's all Night 4 has to offer. And it's honestly such a nice breath of fresh air compared to the first 3 nights, since aside from that one bonus objective, there's literally no RNG at all and it's completely skill-based. Of course, the game still does a fucking horrible job of explaining anything. I've just kind of stopped mentioning that at this point because if I didn't, it would really quickly become 80% of this entire video. All right, moving on to Night 5, and this is where the game really brings its difficulty to the max. Sure, this entire game has been really fucking hard so far, but Night 5 and especially Night 6 are just completely fucking ridiculous. So let's get right into it. Night 5 only has 4 threats to deal with, but they're all new, and on top of that, we have another massive map to learn. And each character has an entire section of the map dedicated to them. And of course, the game still makes us read a book to understand anything, except the book might as well be in fucking Hebrew because I have no idea what any of it means. The map layout is pretty simple. We have one main hub area, and then in each direction is one of the characters' areas. To the north we have Freddy, to the east we have Chica, to the south is Bonnie, and west is Foxy. And yes, if you were wondering, there are incredibly long hallways leading to each area, and yes, the animations that play between them are long as dick and balls. The way we complete Night 5 is by doing 2 tasks. The first being surviving until 6 a.m., which for some reason takes 8 minutes this time. I don't know why time keeps warping in this game, but it does. And the second is completing something this game calls Insta Orders. What are Insta Orders, I hear you asking? Well, don't ask the game because it does a dog shit, horse shit, human shit job at it. So let me just tell you instead. Now, Insta Orders are really fucking stupid. You can do them throughout the night, but you really shouldn't. The game only needs you to complete 1 to finish the night, but the order has to be completed after you hit 6 a.m. And doing them during the night literally provides you no benefit aside from wasting your time. So just like wait until 6 a.m. to do them. The next thing we have to do once it's actually time to do the order is to establish a web line or something. To do that, all you have to do is open the monitor and press Q to open the additional monitor. Now, you might be wondering why I told you that you need to press Q. I never talk about the keybinds in FNAF games unless they're really fucking dumb. Well, that should have been the key takeaway there because this keybind is really dumb. The reason it's so dumb, well, I'm not kidding. The game quite literally never tells you about the additional monitor. It's not even hidden in some random paragraph. I read all of it. It literally doesn't tell you. You're just supposed to figure it out. Anyways, once you figure that out, open the webline menu and just wait for the connection to be established. The reason we need to do this is because if we don't have a secure webline, then the game can actually give us fake progress on our Insta Orders, which would mean that we could think we're making progress when we're just not. So that's fun. Always establish a connection, kids, especially with your runaway deadbeat dad. After we establish the connection, we just press the Insta Order button and wait for it to be done. After that, we should complete the night. However, something I should mention about both establishing a connection and completing an order is that the amount of time it takes for these actions to complete are completely fucking random and could take forever if you get really unlucky. And you can't close the monitor while these things are happening. So if an animatronic spawns during it, you will just lose. Amazing. All right, now let's move on to talking about the threats introduced. Keep in mind that each of them are dealt with in a completely different way, and each of them are located in a completely different spot on the map that takes 400 years to get to, and everything is RNG based and sucks dick. Got that? Cool. Let's talk about the first threat, Subject 1 Freddy. You know Freddy will spawn when you hear this sound cue. Once we get to Freddy, we will see him playing the piano like Beethoven. I think Beethoven played the piano. I don't know. That could be wrong. I really don't know. All we have to do is open up our monitor and select Song Data Bank. From there, all we have to do is correctly select which song Freddy is playing. He will be playing one of 4 songs, and of course, there's no way to know which one is which unless you already know them. I'm not going to waste your time playing all of them for you, but just know that this is some bullshit trial and error. Once you choose the right song, Freddy will fuck off. The next threat we're going to talk about is Subject 2 Foxy. The way he works is pretty interesting, but that's because he has 2 forms of attack. The first is really easy and is literally just Freddy, but easier. You will hear a sound cue that will play a random hertz number.
440 hertz.
Once you hear it, all you have to do is go over to Foxy's curtain, open your monitor, and go to sine waves and press whichever hertz number you heard. His other attack, however, is where it gets interesting. Once again, you will hear a sound cue, except this time it will just tell you to go to Foxy's stage.
Foxy aggression detected. Move to Foxy's stage.
Once you get there, you'll notice that you can't see Foxy poking his head out of the curtains like you saw last time. What you have to do is open up your monitor and then open the extra monitor and click cameras. This will show a camera inside of Pirate's Cove. You'll have to wait for Foxy's eyes to disappear, then close your monitors and click at the button at the bottom of the screen that says declare missing Foxy eyes. And of course, if you were wondering, the game literally doesn't tell you this fucking button exists at all. So that's just cool. Next up, I want to talk about Subject 3 Chica, who, I'll be honest, I still don't really understand how she works, but dealing with her is super easy. And I know that doesn't make sense, but just shut the fuck up. It'll make sense in just a second. When Chica attacks, she will make this sound cue.
Tower is now being brought into stage.
Once she does, all you have to do is go over to her section of the building, open the monitor, select override power, and then press cut, and this will make her go away. That's literally it. You might be wondering how I'm confused about that if I just explained it, but lucky you, that's what this next part of the video is all about. The reason why Chica confused me so much is the unbelievable amount of other shit that we can do to interact with her. To start, you can use oxygen removal, which will prevent Chica from killing us for 90 seconds, but will also force us to wear our mask, which, by the way, I know I haven't mentioned, but shut up, and we'll have to wear that mask the whole 90 seconds. We can also use something called a temporary fix, which will make Chica literally disappear for the rest of the night. However, from that point forward, every hour in game has a 1 in 4 chance of killing us immediately. We can use something called Prevent, which will stop Chica from ghosting for 120 seconds, but as a result, she'll become more hostile. And if you don't know what ghosting means, me too, bro. What ghosting means is that she'll just damage your mask. You might ask how we know that she's damaging it, and when she damages it. Maybe there's a sound cue, maybe there's a... Nope! The game just doesn't fucking tell us, so I have no idea, and I can't answer that question. So my main question is just, why the fuck does all this extra shit exist? You literally don't have to use any of it. Dealing with Chica is so simple, there's actually no point in using any of it at all, and in all honesty, we'll probably end up making the night more difficult if you do, rather than just dealing with her normally. And finally, we get to talk about my least favorite character, Subject 4 Bonnie. Easily the most confusing character in the entire night. Except unlike Chica, he's confusing because it's actually him who's confusing, and not all of the mechanics. Bonnie is pretty much just Freddy, but a little bit different. Where when you're dealing with Freddy, he'll play one of 4 different songs. Bonnie will instead play the same song with just 4 different versions of it. If that was confusing, that's what I meant. His song sounds like this. In our monitor, we can see 4 different buttons that relate to the 4 different versions of the song that Bonnie can play. Yes, I want to die. Thank you for asking. These buttons are with drums, without drums, normal pitch, and low pitch. But of course, this game has to make these buttons as confusing as possible and literally have them make no sense at all. Because if we hear the song without drums, instead of pushing the without drums button, we actually have to push the with drums button because fuck you in the face with my fat steamy balls. walls. And of course, if we hear the song playing with drums, we have to push without drums. If we hear the song playing in a low pitch, we have to press normal pitch. And would you believe me if I told you that if we hear the song playing in a normal pitch, that we also have to press normal pitch, making the low pitch button literally completely fucking worthless. What the fuck is going on? What could have possibly been going through the dev's mind when creating this aside from black tar heroin? And of course, we don't get to hear the normal version of Bonnie's song at any point. So you just have to guess what the fuck low pitch and with and without drums even sounds like. So more trial and error. Hooray! However, there is one way to prevent Bonnie from being able to attack you by using a deterrent plush. It can only be placed when Bonnie isn't active, and you do this by going up to a stage and just placing it there. This will prevent him from spawning for 30 seconds, and with each subsequent place, it will become less and less effective before it just doesn't work at all. Before we move on, I need to complain about some bullshit that makes my dick hurt. If we look at the top corner of the screen, we'll see 3 percentages. Just ignore oxygen and condition because you're not even going to notice them, I promise. What matters is attention. Attention will increase whenever you do literally anything. Pulling up the monitor, moving around, doesn't matter. It will increase. If at any point this meter reaches 15%, all of the animatronics will become much more aggressive. And with it taking 9 fucking seconds to move between rooms, when they're this aggressive, you're going to lose every single time. And the best part, that is never once explained by the game. It never tells you that reaching 15% is basically a game over. It only tells you to be wary of your attention meter. What kind of fucking tutorial is this? Are you retarded? This is the equivalent of when AAA studios test their games on top of the line equipment and then release a game that nobody can play because they don't have a $12 million supercomputer. God damn it, bro. Just explain shit better, for the love of fuck. Now let's move on to the bonus objectives. 2 of them are pretty damn easy. The first has us encounter Chica while she's ghosting. So just, like, enter her room a bunch and you'll get it. And the next one is completing the night with optimal mask damage or whatever. Just use the mask as little as possible and don't use it while Chica's ghosting. Pretty easy. The next objective is a little bit harder. That being completing the night without the plushie losing its effectiveness too much. That's referring to the Bonnie plushie, since I haven't mentioned another plushie, you dumbass. You can get away with using the plushie 3 times throughout the night before you lose this objective. So just, like, only use it 3 times. The final objective is kind of the hardest one, just a little bit different. Something I haven't mentioned during this night are the 2 specials that you can activate on your additional monitor. Both of them can only be used once during the night, and this final objective has us complete the night without using the second life special. The second life special is just a second life. If you die, you'll respawn, but the clock will be set back by a single hour. So not doing that is pretty easy. Just don't do it. I'll mention the other special since we're talking about them, even though they don't affect this objective. It's called silent mode, and it just makes no percentage be added to our attention for 35 seconds. Yeah, always use this one. There's no downside to it. All right, it's time to talk about the single reason why I never wanted to cover this game, Night 6. Night 6 has a whopping 18 fucking animatronics to deal with, and they're all bullshit. And on top of that, the tutorial screen before this night is 5 fucking pages long. Oh my god, I don't want to read all that. But I'm making this video, so obviously I read all of it, or else I wouldn't be able to tell you what you have to do. Let's start by talking about the map. Thankfully, the map is only 1 room. I was thinking it was gonna be fucking massive, but at least that's something I don't have to worry about. The way we complete this night is by surviving until 6 a.m., but that's not it. Even after we get to 6 a.m., we still have to survive another 200 seconds, making this night a total of 12 fucking minutes long. Oh my god, kill me. On top of that, we have to do another insta order, except just like the last one, we can't do it at all until the survival task has been completed. Amazing. However, I do actually have some good news for you. This night is split into multiple sections, and 3 of those sections have checkpoints, so not all hope is lost. But don't let that fool you. This is by far still the hardest night in the entire game. The first section is from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. and has us go up against the subject animatronics from night 5. Section 2 is from 2 to 4 a.m. and has us go up against Remnant Puppet, Miniature Puppet, Remnant Balloon Boy, Remnant Ballora, Miniature Baby, and Miniature Balloon Boy. So yeah, pretty much just everything all at once. I love it. After beating this section is where we get our first checkpoint. Then we move on to section 3, which is from 4 4 to 6 a.m. and has us deal with Revenant Freddy, Revenant Bonnie, Remnant Foxy, and Remnant Chica. And after this section, we also get another checkpoint. And finally, we move on to section 4, which is just those final 200 seconds, which have us defend ourselves from 2 new threats called Revenant's End and Amalgabot. I'm not excited for those two, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. Let's start with section 1 and Freddy. Freddy will appear in the vent walkway's view. To get rid of him, all we have to do is open our monitor and press the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 in quite literally any order. It doesn't matter, so I don't even really know why they're numbered. I guess the dev was just running out of ideas at this point. Foxy is also really easy. He'll appear in this area. Don't even remember the name, don't really care, and I doubt you do either. All you have to do is press the load voice on our monitor and he'll go away. Once again, they're running out of ideas and it's really showing. The only problem with Foxy is that he's really far away from everybody else, and after pressing the button, you have to wait like 10 seconds before you can continue. Chica is also incredibly easy. She'll appear at the prototype table, and if we happen to see her little doggies peeking out from behind the table, all you need to do is pull out your Chica plushie and turn it around. Yes, turning it around is a different action from pulling it out. Don't ask me why. This will cause her to go away. Again, super easy. I see why there's no checkpoint at the end of this section. Bonnie is the last character in this section, and he's by far the hardest. Just like Night 5, he'll play his stupid song and you have to press a button correlating to what the song sounds like. Except this game, of course, had to change the way this shit works for some reason. The buttons this time are normal pitch, low pitch, with drums, and glitched guitar. Except unlike last night, where we had to press the opposite button most of the time, this time we actually have to press the correct button because fuck you. This section also mentions 2 additional characters, Golden Freddy and Shadow Freddy. However, I'll talk about Golden Freddy later since he's always active, and from what I could tell from watching a few different playthroughs of this game, because again, I was unable to do it for myself without getting very sick. I never once saw anybody see Shadow Freddy, so I'm just gonna assume he's bugged. Now we get to move on to section 2, which is much fucking harder than section 1. Like, a lot fucking harder, oh my lord. Let's just start by talking about Remnant Balloon Boy. He appears at the communication area. He will slowly open up his chest throughout the night, and all you have to do is click it every once in a while to stop him from boinking us. The next threat is Miniature Puppet, who can spawn on your cameras at random. Of course. Oh yeah, there are cameras on this night. I just didn't say that because it wasn't relevant before. All you gotta do is stare at him and he'll eventually disappear. Just to find them on the camera character because I hate my life. Miniature Puppet doesn't kill us if we fail to do so. He just becomes an annoying hallucination on our screen, and to get rid of him we have to stare at Golden Freddy's stage. And I'll explain why that's a problem a bit later. Miniature Baby is who I'll talk about next, and she's probably the easiest character here. Just like the previous night she was in, all you have to do is look through memories for good ones whenever she attacks and she'll go away. This has the same problem as her last problem, so I'm not gonna mention it and just move on because this video is already long enough. Remnant Puppet is another pretty easy character. He only spawns on camera 5, and if you ever see him there, just press the button in the corner that changes the camera position and he'll go away for some reason. Since you'll be checking for the other puppet all the time, this guy really shouldn't be a problem. The next character I want to talk about is Miniature Balloon Boy, who is just really fucking annoying. He will want to play a game called Hide and Listen. Not quite the name of the game, but he tried his best. When he wants to play it, you have to hide under the table with him. Once you hear him leave, you can get out from under the table, and congrats! You've just played the most boring game of all time. The final character during this section is Miniature Ballora, who is pretty much just Foxy from the first section. She appears in the same area, except instead of pressing one button, we have to open the side panel and press a different button. Oh, wow. Section 3 is where it starts to get fucking insanely hard. Revenant Bonnie is probably the easiest, so let's start with him. He spawns at either the Foxy Ballora place or on Golden Freddy's stage. For both of these, all you have to do is open your camera and launch a drone to distract him because his autistic interest is drones, and that's it. Revenant Freddy is the next character I want to talk about, and I'll be honest, compared to like all of the other characters on this night, he is so much more complicated for like no reason at all. When he spawns at the prototype table, he will be playing music. You have to listen for when his song plays 2 of the exact same notes. When he does, you'll have to use those Freddy buttons from earlier, except instead of pressing them in any order, you have to press them from largest to smallest. After doing so, you then need to open the camera and reset the song from there. Why is that reset song button in the cameras instead of the monitor? I literally have no fucking idea. I really just want to be done writing. I've been doing this for the last 5 hours. I'm not even joking.
I've been scripting for the last 5 fucking hours. The script here, you see, look, that's what I said, oh wow, and then I told the editor to put this video right here, isn't that cool? And we got a cat down here. What's up, kitty? Yeah, you heard that? That was her saying, it's some fucking bullshit, stop writing. I'm like, bro, I wanna. Damn.
Remnant Foxy is super similar to Freddy because he's also complete bullshit. He will spawn under the table, and when he does, we also need to get under the table with him, I guess. I don't know why. From there, we need to open the cameras, which will now for some reason display his memories instead of cameras. What the fuck is going on? Once there, we need to select a negative memory, and that will scare him away. Do you got all this? I hope so, because if you don't, you wouldn't be able to play this game for yourself, because I had to extract this shit from mountains of text. Meanwhile, I'm just spoon feeding it to you. The final threat in this section is Remnant Chica, who is probably the easiest. She works the same as Subject 3 Chica. When you see her, just show her the plushie and she'll leave. The only actual problem is that you need to be really fucking fast when she spawns. And finally, we can move on to talking about the hardest section throughout this entire night, with the characters Revenant's End and Amalgabot. Let's start by talking about Revenant's End, since he is by far the most difficult and leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and I really just want to forget about him. Revenant's End has 3 different ways to attack us, all with different ways of dealing with him. The first place he can attack is in an elevator I've just not mentioned so far. When you get to the elevator, you can open the doors to see if he's there. If he's not, you'll see 2 plushies. If you actually do see him, you'll have to close the doors, wait 3 seconds, and then reopen them. Repeat this until you see him standing up, and then you can walk away. The other 2 ways he can attack are pretty much the same. The first has him spawn near Golden Freddy. We need to turn to the vent view of Golden Freddy's stage and play a voice lure from the monitor to lure him away. Once he's there, we get rid of him in the exact same way that we get rid of him in the third way. And the third way is having him just spawn next to the vents themselves. When he does, 4 buttons will appear in the corners of your screen, and you need to press them in a Z pattern to close a mask over your face, which will scare him away. Amalgabot also has 3 different ways to attack, and from what I could tell, he always seems to attack right after Revenant's End. The first attack is really easy. He spawns by the communications post, and all you have to do is put your mask on, and it'll scare him away for some reason. The second way he attacks makes me want to kill myself. He'll spawn at the table, and we'll have to open up our cameras and search them until we find a stop music button that appears on one of them at random. I'm sure you can tell why I don't like this attack. We have to spam click this button until it disappears, which, yes, by the way, is entirely luck-based, and then he'll go away. His final attack is pretty much exactly the fucking same. He'll spawn under the table, and we have to go under there with him. From there, we have to open the cameras and find another randomly spawning button and click it, and he'll go away. Great. More RNG. Love it. And of course, now is the time that I should talk about Golden Freddy, who has been attacking us this entire time. He is obviously on his stage, and every once in a while his music will become unstable. When that happens, we just have to go over to his speakers and decrease the volume, and you're done. If you were expecting him to be super ass and insanely interesting, you're probably disappointed, because that's literally it. You might be thinking that all that's left to be talked about is the bonus objectives, but you'd be wrong, because there's actually a fuck ton more during this night that the game quite literally never fucking mentions. To start, let's talk about the metric shitload of fuck in the top corner of the screen. Attention, oxygen, and condition are exactly the same as in Night 5, so we'll just skip those. The first real mechanic is power. It constantly goes down no matter what you do, but if you go to the communication table, you can increase it by 10% just by pressing a button and waiting. The next one is radiation exposure, which I've literally never seen anybody increase no matter what they've done, so I really don't know what to say about that. And once again, the game doesn't tell you either. And the final one is health, which will only ever decrease when Miniature Puppet is doing her hallucination thing. That's why I don't like her, by the way. I could have said that when I was talking about her, but fuck you. Also inside of our monitor, we have 3 repair buttons that do literally nothing and 2 specials. One that gives us unlimited power for 30 seconds and another that does the silent mode thing for 35 seconds again. So yeah, just use them both because they're good. Okay, I kind of lied about the repair buttons being useless. Repair leaks is actually useful. Occasionally at random, a gas leak will happen to drain our oxygen and kill us. So use this button to fix it. That's it. The other 2 are actually useless though. There is still a lot more shit, honestly. Like probably another 20 minutes of shit to mention. I'm not even kidding. Like this weird virus thing near the Foxy area. But I seriously just want to be done talking about this game. And in all honesty, these extra things really aren't interesting or impactful at all. Finally, we can talk about the bonus objectives, which aren't really that bad, except 2 of them, which actually do suck dick and balls. The 2 easy ones are beating the night without any specials. You don't really need the specials to beat the night, so that's not really that big of a problem. And the other is to beat the night without passing 10% radiation. Again, I've never seen anybody get any radiation, so that also isn't really a problem. The bonuses that actually get hard start with beating the night without reaching 22% attention. With how much shit you have to do to complete this night, it's obviously going to be hard as shit. And the final bonus objective is by far the hardest and brings up another character I've mentioned twice during this night already. That being completing the night without going below 80% health. Basically, that just means you can never be attacked by Miniature Puppet, since if she becomes a hallucination, it is literally impossible to not go below 80% health. This is why I told you guys to really make sure you're focusing on her, because otherwise you won't be able to get this objective. But that's way fucking easier said than done, since the second section where Miniature Puppet is present probably has the most shit to do out of any other section. So you're pretty much going to get no time to actually check for her. So have fun. I know I wouldn't. And yes, before you guys say anything, I know that this game has a fuck ton more shit to do in the post game, with a lot harder nights filled with a bunch more bullshit that will make me want to cry. But this video is already so fucking long, and I've been scripting for no joke the last 7 hours straight. Yeah, when I told you I was done with 5 hours of scripting like 10 minutes ago, it actually took me 2 more hours to script from that point to this point. There was that much shit to look up. I need to be done. Plus, I don't want to hand my editor a long as fuck video. He's already going to hate me for what we have already. But if you really want to see me cover the rest of this game, which I promise will be another very fucking long video, probably the same length of this video, if not longer, then let me know in the comments below, and if this video gets enough views, then I'll gladly do it. But that's the main game of Post Shift 2 and what it has to offer. This game has the reputation of being the hardest FNAF game ever made, and while that's obviously literally not true, I can totally understand why people feel this way. It isn't just a max mode that's hard. It's literally the entire game, the whole way through. While I think this game is actually really cool as a concept, especially with all the post game and bonus objectives, which is the type of stuff I eat up, I can totally understand why this game has left such a massive mark on the community. Asset dumping. The art of using random art from around the internet as all of your assets in a game. Seen with games like Getting Over It, Yandere Simulator, and plenty more. Five Nights at Freddy's games have their fair share of asset dumping as well. Five Nights at Wario's, One Night at Chica's Magic Rainbow, and of course, the very popular One Night at Frogger's. Usually seen as a very lazy way of creating art for your game, mainly because the creator isn't actually creating any art at all, but not all asset dumps are bad, and in its own way, they're an art form themselves, if you can build your environments properly. The game we'll be covering today is an asset dump fan game, and it's honestly become my favorite I've ever played. Today, we'll be talking about Late Shift at Nintendo World, the most stressful FNAF game I've ever played. Strap in, because I promise you, despite what it looks like, there's so much to talk about. So let's drag our balls into Night 1. Night 1, where it all begins, and where you might already become overwhelmed by the amount of possible things this game is about to throw at you. To start, I love the visual style of this game. While yes, it is just the typical asset dump, there are so many references stuffed into this game, it's amazing. And on top of that, the space in each room and camera is filled up so nicely. It's cluttered, but not so much so to the point that my eyes melt out of my skull. Anyways, Before we start talking about the whopping 3 threats this night introduces, let's talk about the tools at our disposal and the locations we can travel to. Locations? What does that mean, Dexter? Well, a location is a place you can go, you fucking moron. The first location is obviously your office. You'll see you have a large hallway in front of you and, of course, your cameras. Your cameras are pretty basic, except for the fact that they're dark as fuck. So we've been equipped with a camera flashlight. The way this flashlight works really makes me want to smother an owl. Every time you use it, only certain cameras will be lit up, since some cameras are outside where the flashlight doesn't reach. The camera light will only stay on for so long before shutting off, and making you wait for a cooldown to be able to turn it on again. Thankfully, the cameras aren't completely pitch black, so my balls get to stay attached to my body for another day. Now, let's talk about the second area you can go to, the outside fence area. Turning around, you'll find a large electric fence. You can tell it's an electric fence because it tells you so, which is very kind. You can hold down a button to charge up the electric fence, and when it charges, the fence will be shocked. Pretty sure that's not how an electric fence works, but to each their own, I suppose. And finally, the last place you can travel is the back shed. The only thing you can do here is hold the door to lock it. While that may seem a bit eerie and intimidating, you'd be right. It really is. But worry not. I'll cover why this place is so important in a little bit. With all of that out of the way, we can talk about the 3 threats this night introduces. Let's start with the main attraction himself, Mario. Mario is disgusting. Literally, look at this model. What the fuck is this thing? Ew. Dude, that thing is fucking nasty. Anyways, now that we're done pointing and laughing at him, what does he do? Mario will work his way to your office through 3 cameras. On each of these cameras, above your light button, you'll notice a music button also appears. If you ever see Mario on one of these cameras, simply press the music button and he will be pushed back 1 camera. Note that he won't be pushed all the way back to his starting camera. So if he travels through multiple cameras, you'll have to follow the cameras pushing him back one by one. Very simple character. As long as you're constantly watching him, which you probably will be, he really shouldn't be an issue. The second threat this night introduces is Mario's taller, skinnier, and much more fuckable brother, Luigi. I'd let his mustache tickle my taint. What? Anyways, Luigi makes use of that spooky little back shed we were talking about earlier. Luigi will appear on camera 9, which connects directly to the hallway in front of your office. You will need to constantly watch camera 9 for when Luigi appears, and once he disappears from camera 9, then you will know he's in your hallway. Something else you'll notice is that you'll never actually see Luigi in your hallway, and there's no camera for the hallway either, and he won't actually appear in the office as well. So you really need to be paying attention. Once you know that Luigi is in your hallway, you will need to hop bottom to the back shed and hold the door locked. Luigi will peer in at you, meaning he was following your big fat juicy bouncing jiggling ass all the way over here. Once Luigi leaves the window of the shed, you're free to go back to the office. Luigi brings up a great synergy with Mario. Both requiring plenty of attention on the cameras really goes to make these two a dangerous combo, and I really don't want to be stuffed by 2 Italian sausages. I also wouldn't want to eat a sausage anyways. Oh! Oh! Whoa. 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 That's cool. That's cool. I do like that. That is pretty fucking cool. I do like that. This game's gonna get fucking hard, isn't it, dude? The final threat this night introduces is Pikachu. For some fucking reason. But whatever. Pikachu makes use of the big electric fence behind you. Occasionally, Pikachu will be visible behind it, and this is when you'll notice that apparently Pikachu came from fucking Jurassic Park because this fat motherfucker is the size of Jupiter. Of course, once you see Pikachu trying to get a peek at your pecker, see what I did there? All you have to do is charge up the electric fence and give him a taste of his own medicine by shocking him like he does to Ash, and he finally will leave you alone again. I can handle a lot, but I personally think an 18-foot tall Pikachu meat between my buns would be a little too much for me. But if you can manage to learn how all these characters work together, you'll move on to Night 2. Night 2 introduces a plethora of new threats, signaling to me that this may be one of the most challenging FNAF games I will ever play. It's only Night 2, and 2 new threats are added, bringing the total number of threats on Night 2 all the way up to 5. So let's talk about them. The first threat introduced on Night 2 is Kirby. I love Kirby. Kirby would never hurt me. That's a lie. This Kirby certainly would. On both your boiler room camera and back room camera, you will see 2 heat symbols have appeared. Kirby will attempt to get into your office via either of these 2 vents. So hooray! We have 2 more mandatory cameras that require our attention. The way you deal with Kirby is simple. Same as Luigi. When he enters the camera, all is good. But the moment he disappears from the camera means he's about to start rolling through your vent and into your office. When he disappears, hit the heat button to scare Kirby out of the vents. The heat only lasts 1 second, however, so you really need to make sure you time it properly. However, now is the time I get to tell you about the worst and most frustrating character we've seen so far, Meta Knight. That's right, we get 2 Kirby characters introduced at once, and just like Meta Knight in Smash Bros, he is an annoying pain in the dick. Meta Knight acts as a Foxy-like character in this game. He will appear in camera 2, which is the entrance. He will make his way through a few stages, and once he disappears from camera 2, he will charge at your office, and you'll be able to hear his footsteps quickly approaching. What you'll have to do is, as fast as you fucking can, run to the back shed and lock the door. Come in real close for me, just for a second. I'm gonna whisper this in your ear. So make sure you turn your volume up so you can hear me. You got it? Yeah? Volume all the way up? Okay, great. Don't let anyone know I told you this, okay? Meta Knight is so goddamn cock-sucking fast! You barely have any time to react once you hear his footsteps coming. You quite literally have just enough time to get to the back shed and close the door. This motherfucker is brutal. But Dxtr, you're supposed to watch him in camera 2, and once he leaves, then you go to the shed. Sounds pretty easy to me. Shut the fuck up! While yes, it's true that once he leaves camera 2, he will charge at you, watching him really doesn't even fucking matter. Because the moment he leaves 2, the sound cue of him running starts playing, so you might as well just wait for the fucking sound cue since watching him will only waste the precious time you need to focus on the other characters that actually do give you the time of day to deal with them. And if that wasn't bad enough, Meta Knight is in the entrance, an outdoor camera, which means not only is it dark as fuck, but your fucking camera light doesn't work on that camera anyways! So you have to rely on the fucking lightning to be able to see jack dick from that camera. But the lightning is not consistent at all. It's completely random, and it only lights up outside cameras for, oh, I don't know, maybe less than a fucking second. So if you want to check the entrance, you either have to just fucking sit there and wait for the lightning to show up, which could take several seconds that you need to be using to check on the other characters, or you could wait to hear the lightning and try to quickly flip to camera 2 to check on this annoying fucker. Both options suck dick, so I guess pick your fucking poison. But if you can tighten your sphincter and listen closely and have reflexes like a god for long enough, Meta Knight will fold, you will complete night 2, and we can begrudgingly move on to night 3, where I can only hope to God that 3 more characters aren't introduced. Night 3, here we are. Let me tell you guys, this night does nothing to help with my crippling mental state. Because let me tell you, this night is hard. Like, really fucking hard. Let's talk about the threats introduced and why this night is so ass. This night only introduces 2 threats. However, one of them is easily the most infuriating character in this entire game. So let's talk about the one that doesn't make me want to stick my willy in a pencil sharpener first. Link. Link appears in the courtyard where we deal with Pikachu. You'll notice on this night that as you go to the courtyard, you'll now be equipped with a metal pipe. This pipe is used as a form of defense against Link. When Link appears in the courtyard, he will giggle really fucking loud to let you know he's there. You will have to hit him 3 times in order for him to go away. Every time you hit him, he will teleport to a different spot on the screen. However, you can only hit him when the Majora's Mask's eyes are red. If they're blue, you'll have to stare at him until they turn red before you can start hitting him. This brings up even more evil synergies with fuck-ass Meta Knight, since you won't be able to pass him until you kill him. Bro, he won't die. What? He wouldn't die. The Majora's Mask guy wouldn't die. And Meta Knight was coming. What was I supposed to do? Now, let's talk about one of the worst and most stressful characters known to mankind, Ness. On night 3, you'll notice in the shed that we now have a new addition of a fuse box. However, you'll notice that this fuse box only has 1 fuse, but there are 3 places for a fuse to go. You can freely move this fuse from one slot to another, but what does this fuse actually control? Well, on 3 cameras on the map that connect to the hallway in front of your office, there is a fire alarm in each of them. However, the button for the fire alarm will only appear on the camera that is adjacent to whichever slot in the fuse box holds the fuse. So if your fuse is in slot B, then camera 9 will have the smoke alarm button on the cameras. Ness will appear in any of these 3 possible cameras. When he appears on one of them, you will have to play the smoke alarm to scare him away. Yes, this means that if your fuse is in slot B and you see Ness on camera 11, you will have to quickly run all the way to the back shed and switch the fuse to slot C, then run all the way back and hope you were fast enough to play the smoke alarm in time. And you want to hear the best part? Ness blends in with the background while the lights are off better than any other character in this entire fucking game. So have fun being able to find him. He also really likes to hide on the side of the cameras, so you'll have to spend even more time slowly panning the 3 cameras he can be in back and forth to really be able to tell if he's in one of them. Easily the character I died to the most, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. I think I'm willing to say I hate Ness more than Meta Knight, honestly, but it's really, really close. Fuck Ness, he's a bitch. Night 4. Holy shit. I did not think they could make it any worse. And that's exactly what they did. Night 4 adds 3 new characters. Yes, I'm serious. They added 3 more fucking characters to this game, bringing the total up to like fucking, I don't know, 12? I'm not keeping track anymore. This is just insane. Before we start talking about the threats, Juniper, the phone girl, told us that there's an investigation going on. She doesn't tell us what it's about though, just says that the park might close soon for a while. She also does mention that some of the characters are starting to attack patrons during the day, so that bodes great for what they're going to do to us tonight. Speaking of, who are they? Well, let's talk about the smallest problem this night introduces, Fox Puppet. But it's really just fucking Star Fox. Star Fox has a chance to appear in the courtyard behind the fence. However, he is not a fan of being shocked by it, so if you electrocute him, he's gonna dive into your butt. Get it? Because foxes do that thing where they jump really high and dive, but he's diving into your... You get it, fuck me. When he's at your fence, all you have to do is spam your flashlight at him and he'll go away. Really not a big deal at all, and honestly, the amount of time you have to flash him is pretty forgiving. And you can even go to the back shed while he's standing there if you really want to, so in all honesty, he's not that bad. However, the next fuckhead we'll have to talk about is a pain in the dick, Captain Olimar. I'm pretty sure is who this is, at least. He will appear in the hallway in your office with 2 sets of eyes. I mention his eyes because they're very important to his attack. On night 4, a thermostat will become present in your back shed, and he directly correlates with this thermostat. When you hear him enter your office, which is signaled by some footsteps, you will have to look at his eyes. If both sets of eyes are red, you will have to run to the back shed and set the thermostat to hot. If they're both blue, set it to cold, and if one set is blue and the other set are red, then set the thermostat to mixed. After a few seconds, Olimar should go away. I don't think I need to explain why this is so horseshit to deal with, especially considering the amount of characters that require so much attention, so I'm not even gonna bring it up. Just know that I'm on the verge of peeling my foreskin like a banana. The final threat this night introduces, which yes, in case you forgot, there is still another threat to throw on top of all this bullshit, is Samus. Samus will enter your office through your hallway on either side. The cameras in which she will try to enter from will now be equipped with a lock button. They're not toggleable and must be held to hold the gutters shut. When you see Samus in either of these cameras, simply hold the lock button shut for a few seconds and she'll run away. Ironically enough, even with all of these threats active, Ness is still the character that has caused me the most suffering throughout this game. He is easily the most frustrating threat of all time. I've also died to Luigi a decent handful of times at this point, just because of how easy it is to forget about him. There is surely no way this game can get any harder. Right? It got harder, so let's talk about it. The phone call from Juniper on this night has her talking about how I shouldn't come to work tomorrow and that I'm stupid for clocking in today. That we agree on. I'm not really sure why I'm here. Apparently things are getting super dangerous, so that's awesome. There's a new threat on this night who doesn't like bright lights, so Juniper said she's changed out our camera lights. Great! Hopefully they're better now. They're worse. Oh, so very worse than they were before. Now, instead of having the brightness on the cameras for a few seconds and having a long recharge time, we now have less than a second flash of light and we get a faster recharge time. This is worse in every single conceivable way possible. Dude, this new flashlight thing, fuck this. Oh my god. What is this guy gonna look like, dude? Fuck me. I personally think that a great deal of this game's difficulty comes from it being difficult to see and track the characters. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. I know the retards over on Reddit like to misconstrue every single point I've ever made. No, I think it's cool that finding the characters is a challenge. However, now only having this small flash of light makes it so fucking much more AIDS-ridden to be able to do so. So, why on earth was our camera light downgraded this badly? Well, to deal with the one new threat this night introduces. Mario. Dxtr? Mario was already introduced on night 1. Did you already forget? No, dear viewer. I did not forget that. There are just 2 fucking Marios now. Why not? Fuck it, right? Why not add another existing Nintendo character? Why Mario again? I have no fucking idea. I don't really understand the thought process here, but we're just gonna shut our fucking mouths and roll with it. This Mario is easily the most stress-inducing character we've seen so far. More stressful than Ness, more stressful than Meta Knight. Occasionally, throughout this night, you'll hear Mario say, Wahoo. And that just means bad news for you. Do you want to take a solid guess as to what you have to do when you hear this sound cue? Go on, go ahead. Guess for me. I've not really complained about any of the mechanics introduced so far, as I feel each of them are pretty unique and offer something of substance to the gameplay loop. So come on, tell me what you think this game is about to do to me. Come here, come here, come here, come here, guess! Guess, you piece of shit! Guess what this game did to me! You have to go find Mario on one of the cameras at random and flash him with your light. I'll find them on the camera mechanic again! How many videos in a row have we had this on this channel? I don't think there's ever been a video where this dog shit cock-sucking mechanic wasn't present! And that's not all. No. 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 Not only do you have to find him on a random camera that he teleports to once, no. You have to find him on a random camera that he teleports to 3 times in a fucking row! Are you kidding me? Most characters in this game only have you deal with them once or twice throughout the night. Mario? At least fucking 3! You have to find this motherfucker on a random camera, while timed, by the way, and dealing with every other character at the same time, a whopping 9 fucking times! Fuck! 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 I can't fucking handle this shit! This is too much for my brain to handle! Over 10 fucking characters to deal with at the same goddamn time! And all of a sudden I'm in with this bullshit! This game is shoving carrots in my ass like some Bugs Bunny shit! What the fuck is wrong with you? Give me another character that forces me to go to this shit! I don't give a fuck! Not another find them on the fucking camera character! You've gotta be fucking me in my rear! Go find my dick! Go find my ass! Go find my balls! Go find my taint! Go find my tits! Chop my penis into 10 fucking pieces and throw each piece onto a camera and go fucking find them all! Fuck you! Nintendo, no, you ain't gonna stop me when I get it going. I ain't gonna slow, no, curtains ain't closing. Pouring all the salt, keep the insults flowing. Light up all the incense, come before the storm. Gather in the Smash Bros army like a swarm. Find them on the cameras, nothing but the norm. Cause another crash out, dog, I'm getting bored. Said, dog, I'm getting bored with you. I'm warning you, you don't really wanna start another war, do you? I don't know who's been around here misinforming you. When you fuck with Dxtr, what the horn's pouring at you. Up first, Mario is on the chopping block. The fat fuck plumber getting nothing on his cock. His bitch is locked up with a lizard, dropping cheeks on his rock hard fucking penis round the clock. God damn, it's fucking embarrassing. Her hair's in a bun and he's burying himself in her Archie's having fun and he's getting his coming or sending videos of him fucking her. Check your messages and see. I'll get her home when I'm done with her. Daisy's with him too, Luigi don't know the truth. He's staring at the video, skin white like King Boo. Does he dare to check another? No, it ain't true. Check your Snapchat, bro. She's saying he's bigger than you. Damn! I dumb bitch, I've been locked in. Unlike Samus and that other bitch, Mega Man. Link on my shit, I could knock you with both hands. Make your head spin, do a dance on your can. Pikachu, flash a light at Pikachu. You behind the fence, I charge it up and thunderbolt you. Now you fried up, but we still got another hoe to boot. Star Fox turn, flash, epilepsy. Ooh! You get a seizure, Kirby in my heater. Blast his ass into the fucking ether. Samus back, her ass so fat I need her. Call her lowest way, she grip my Peter. Nintendo, no! Never gonna switch games, I'm about to blow. I've been making big waves, I've been good to go. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Nintendo, no! I've been shooting at them like it's Rochambeau. I could kamikaze on a rainbow road. I might cause a riot when I beat them bros. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Alright, coming real close. Answer me this question, why you bitches on my chode? Ness is looking at me, licking lips, don't want it though. Gotta flip the fuse box, keep this on the low. Alright, look, I don't know why you're doing this shit. I'm just trying to do my job and you keep riding on my dick. If it was Samus, that'd be fine, but it'd be everybody. Why you're trying to make it through the week, but you keep stretching out the time. Like my asshole, keep on pulling me in with a lasso. Ride me like a cowboy in the desert in El Paso. Friday come along and met a knife on me bed and matter of fact, he spanked me with a paddle, made my ass rattle. Put a saddle on me, hit me with a rowel, then he growl. In the locker rooms, he hit me with a towel, then he plowing on my shit. I'm doing tricks up on a stick. I did the splits contortionist aboard that flip me over, slide me, bend me over backwards. Nintendo, no! Never gonna switch games, I'm about to blow. I've been making big waves, I've been good to go. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Nintendo, no! I've been shooting at him like it's Rochambeau. I could kamikaze on a rainbow road. I might cause a riot when I beat them bros. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Well, glad I got all that out of my system. With that, we can move on to night 6 and talk about something that actually doesn't make me want to kill myself. However, it does still lay a lot on you. Loading into night 6, you'll see we're no longer in the office and we are now actually in a fucking bunker. How did we get here? I have no idea, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter, however, are the new tools at our disposal. However, me explaining all of them to you right now will not be very helpful. So I'll quickly explain the general tools, and then we'll talk about the character-specific ones as we learn about said characters. Obviously, we have our cameras, pretty self-explanatory. We also have 3 entrances to our office, the big hallway right in front of us, and 2 doors to our left and right. These doors can be closed remotely through the cameras, but you have to slowly charge them up before they can close, and only one can be closed at a time. Also, at any time we'd like, we can cut the power to our office and be left in complete darkness with our thoughts, like me late at night questioning what I'm even doing anymore. But this isn't a therapy session, so let's continue. What about the threats introduced on this night? Given the fact we're in a different location, it has to be different characters, right? Well, that would actually be correct. However, one of the characters is a repeat. Remember that one Mario that I really didn't like from night 5? I know I was pretty subtle about it. Well, it appears he followed us down here. However, he is incredibly easy to deal with this time around. He'll wander around the cameras and eventually find his way into your office. Once he stands in front of you, menacingly, all you have to do is whip out your fucking baton like my Willy and tase him in the balls. I'm not kidding. This is fucking awesome and is just what I need after dealing with the bullshit he put me through on night 5. The next threat introduced on this night is Mega Man. He is also pretty simple. He will try to enter your office through your left or right door. When you see him in that door's respective camera, simply charge up that door and seal it shut. Once he bangs on it, you're free to open the door again. Next, we've got to talk about the Villager. She confused me quite a bit during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. She will enter your office through any of the 3 possible entrances. Her rules state that once she enters your office, shut the lights off until you hear her run away. So tell me, what do you think that means? If you answered, wait until she appears in your office like Mario, then cut the lights until you hear footsteps, then turn the lights back on and continue, then you'd be completely fucking wrong, because she actually never appears in your office at all. You cannot see her when she's inside of your office, even if she is literally there. So, how are you meant to deal with her then? Well, you'll have to carefully track her on the cameras. When she enters camera 8, 7, or 6, her next movement will be into your office. So if you see her on one of those cameras and then don't see her anymore, that means she's currently in your office and you need to cut the lights. The best part? If you have the left door closed and she goes to camera 6, indicating that she will be entering your office through the left door, even if it's closed like we've already established, she'll still be able to enter your office through that door. Isn't that just amazing? Anyways, I could point out the nuances all day long, but that's not what you're here for. The final threat introduced on this night is Andros, a character I've legitimately never seen before in my entire life. I've been able to recognize each character so far, even if I haven't played the game they were from, like Star Fox, for example. But Andros? What the fuck is even that? Okay, I just looked it up. It's the main antagonist of Star Fox. Crazy coincidence that I just mentioned Star Fox and that I've never played it. That would make sense as to why I didn't know who this was then. Anyways, what does he actually do? Well, in my opinion, he is the most annoying character on this night. He is completely invisible on the cameras, and if he ever gets into your office, you die. In order to track him, you have to use the camera's built-in motion detectors. However, something really interesting about these motion detectors is that they're a piece of shit. Every single camera has the motion detector button. However, only one of the buttons on the cameras will work at a time, at random, and every few seconds, which camera has the working button will switch randomly. Meaning that, even though there's no character on this night that has a find them on the camera mechanic, these fucked up, morbid devs somehow find a way to work that bullshit into the fucking UI! What the fuck are you doing to me? I need to relax. I can't scream anymore. Breathe. How do we deal with Andros? Well, when he is on either camera 8, 7, or 6, you will have to use your heater on whichever camera he's on. Using the UI on the cameras, you can select which camera the heater targets and then blast heat into said camera remotely. Doing so will scare Andros away. Now, that's all of the characters this night introduces. However, there's still one more very important thing I've neglected to mention. Unlike every other night present in this game, Night 6 has a task-based completion system rather than a survival-based one. So that bodes the question, what is the task we have to complete? Well, on the computer at your desk, there are 5 important files we have to decrypt and extract onto our USB drive. The way we decrypt them is simple. Several strings of 4-digit number codes will appear on the monitor, and all we have to do is type them in. Type in several 4-string digit codes without messing up in a row, and trust me, it'll feel like you'll have to do this a billion fucking times, and you'll download one of the files. Do this for all 5 files, and the night is over. This task being added to this night easily makes it the most stressful mechanic this game has ever introduced. I was not expecting something like this from this game, and I honestly wasn't expecting a crazy final night like this in general. I'm all for it. Overall, I do still think Night 5 was harder than this night, but this was definitely a nice change of pace. After completing the night, we take our USB, run out of the bunker and into the parking lot, and drive off to the police station to show them our evidence. Looking back, we notice Mario followed us out and was left standing in the parking lot. We almost didn't make it out alive. It's revealed that our name isn't really Terrence, and we've secretly been an undercover investigator this entire time. The police raided Nintendo World and arrested the CEO, Leonard. Everything we mentioned in our report was found, except for one single thing: Mario himself. The only thing that was left to even prove he was present was his hat. Not knowing his whereabouts now, late shift at Nintendo World comes to a close. Kind of. There's actually a fuck ton more this game has to offer in the form of post-game content and challenges, with a whopping 12 additional characters for us to unlock and fuck around with. There's 9 other ones? There's 12 more? At the time of writing, I have no idea how these characters are achieved except for one. In the challenges menu, 2 fun challenges are present, and when I say fun, I really just mean ass. The first is blind mode, which will cause a constant blizzard to be present during the nights, making it harder to see in your office and in the courtyard. It also forces Night 5's shitty flash mechanic throughout the nights, and increases the amount of time you have to wait between flashes to make it even worse. And if that wasn't enough, blind mode still has one more big fuck you, in the form of a new threat: the Ice Climbers. The way they work is pretty simple, but retarded nonetheless. They have a chance to appear in any of the 3 major locations you can be in. If you ever see them, you just have to go to another area until they leave. I can't describe how terrible that sounds. Again, at the time of writing this, I have no plans to attempt this challenge, nor any of the custom night modes which I assume will unlock the remaining characters. I do have the thought of attempting these on stream in the coming weeks, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing me doing and covering. Overall, I think Late Shift at Nintendo World is actually amazing. While I did find a lot of the characters annoying and stressful, the overall gameplay loop is very satisfying to nail down and will leave you feeling like a badass as you complete it. Yes, the entire game is just an asset dump, but you can't deny the crazy amount of effort and care put into it, and that's something I can always appreciate. What do you think is the most underrated Five Nights at Freddy's fan game ever made? A series that is so amazing you'd think it'd be talked about everywhere, but when you go to check, it seems like nobody has ever even heard of it. The game we'll be covering today is one of those games for me, and when doing research for this video, especially when talking about the lore, I found it incredibly difficult to piece it together because of how little information there seems to be about it. But rest assured, I think I've got it figured out. The game we'll be covering today is Project Readjusted, a FNAF fan game with one of my favorite stories of all time. Sit back, relax, and let's jump into this amazing trilogy together. First big change I noticed in Project Readjusted from most FNAF games is the way the phone calls were handled. Rather than having the phone calls take place inside the game, this game instead chooses to have us listen to the phone call before we even load into the office, instead giving us a still image to look at showing the characters we will be seeing on each night. I'll admit it's unique, however, I think I'd personally prefer to be able to mess around with the cameras, mechanics, and so on while the phone guy is talking, and just have to make sure nobody moves while that's happening. I feel that's a much better way to utilize the first phone call in a FNAF game. The first phone call doesn't give out any meaningful information, really just going over how the main character Buster works. But it's my job to explain the mechanics, so I don't think I'll be letting the depressed sounding Wei Ji do that for me. Upon loading into the office, you may feel just a little cramped, and that's normal. This office is teeny tiny, like much smaller than most FNAF offices I've seen in my days. Obviously, we have a door to the office, because if we didn't, I'd question how we even got into the room in the first place. However, the interesting thing about this door is that it doesn't close. Oh, Dexter, does it not have an actual door? Like, it's just a doorway? No, there's a door. Our character just for some reason chooses not to close it. But instead of thinking that's because we're playing in the shoes of a dumbass, I'm instead going to assume it's because we're playing in the shoes of a badass who isn't scared of anything. We also, of course, have our cameras, which are very interesting to say the least. To start, they have two modes, lights on mode and useless mode, because as I'm sure you could have guessed, if the lights are off, you can't see anything. I know, groundbreaking. You'll also notice you have a camera stability percentage. What does that mean? Well, as the name suggests, it reads the percentage of your camera stability. I'm sorry, I'll stop talking like that. While on your cameras, the stability will quickly decrease. Putting the camera down will cause it to quickly increase back up. If it drops down to 0, you're gonna have to wait a while before being able to use it again. So, what about that Buster fella I mentioned earlier? How does he work? Great question, viewer of questionable stench. Buster is as basic as a character can get. I'm sure you could probably guess what he does, but it's my job to tell you. Buster will move around through the cameras with the goal of getting to your office. Once there, he'll peek his little head through the door. Using this comically large blue button on the wall of your office, you can shine a light into the doorway, revealing he has the teeth of a British person. Hold this light on him for long enough and he'll go away. Simple sugar. After night 1, we get a short cutscene. You guys seem to like the narration I did in my Maggie's video, so instead of just summarizing what happened like I would usually do, I figured, why not narrate this as well? Hey, it's been a long time, you and me. We finally met ends on a good note, for now. I'm only implying that our experience will be better. Now, there is something I need to tell you. I know I'm jumping to conclusions without explaining who I am, but bear with me. There is something inside this diner. Just maybe put on some type of gig to make some fool believe you to make them work here. Maybe that person will lure that thing out. I'll tell you more tomorrow, but for now, let's begin to go inside. Let's take the back alley, as it's less noticeable. Come along, we only have 5 days. Sounds like someone's trying to dupe us and use us as bait. That's not very kind, vaguely barbaric. But whatever, we're already working here. I guess it's just in our best interest to not die. Moving on to night 2, you can quickly take a little nap because the phone guy takes a billion years to talk about the new character this night adds, and ramble about some arcade machines. The new character added on this night is Old Buster. At least, that's the name that would make sense. However, this character's name is actually Redeemer. Quite literally, being an older Buster model, I can't quite wrap my head around why they chose to name him in the way they did. Redeemer makes use of your vents, something I've neglected to mention thus far. You can't really see it, but the vent is to the right of your office behind the door, so just out of sight. Redeemer does whatever he damn well pleases until he eventually decides to enter the vent. When he does, an obvious sound cue will play letting you know he's entered. Once he reaches your office, he'll dive in. When he's in your office, it's very important that you don't look at him. However, since the office we're in is so small, it may prove very difficult to just look away from him. So you'll have to be looking at your cameras while he's in your office instead. I guess Redeemer has the mindset of, if I can't see him, he can't see me. Stupid ass robot. This, however, may bring up a possible conflict. If your camera stability is too low by the time Redeemer gets to your office, it's safe to say that you wouldn't have a very good time. But luckily for us, at this point in the game, checking the cameras is entirely useless. So as of right now, this shouldn't be a problem. Hey, so I was looking around in these garbage bins and found a key. It's great, I know, the low effort put into protecting this place. Anyways, remember that idea I had, well, a few minutes ago? I got this one guy on my phone now. His name is Hayden Simmons. Pretty dumb fellow. I bet he doesn't even know of this place. Probably a high school dropout or a kid desperate for some easy cash. Well, now let's venture inside this establishment and set up an office for our buddy. So, we know the name of our character, Hayden Simmons. Too bad his name is one of the rhyming Aiden names, probably the worst group of names anybody could have. That's besides the point though. It seems like the building we're working in isn't even supposed to have an office. It's clear something sinister is going on here, but we don't quite know what yet. Moving on to night 3, I'm going to spare you the details and have us skip the phone call because he explains what the newest character does in an amount of time that could be an entire video by itself. Night 3 introduces Ned. Ned is ugly, like ugly as sin. He's got a face not even a mother could love. Booger-ah, boy. He will try to make his way to your office via the long hallway in the building. Unlike Buster, he isn't a complete dumbass, so the light trick won't really work on him. What will work on him, however, is the replace machinery button that I've blatantly and purposefully ignored up until this point, because explaining it earlier really wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense, now would it? Ned has multiple stages in the hallway. Every time you use the replace machinery button, he will go back a stage. I'm sure you can figure out how this works. Push him back, wait for the button to recharge, push him back again, keep him away from your office, which would in turn keep him away from your genitals. Whoopity-doo. However, this does bring up the issue of us needing to use our cameras now. So in combination with Redeemer, Ned could end up being a big problem down the road. Alright, sorry for keeping you waiting, but I had to run back to my car to get a battery for my phone. It's pretty low percentage right now, but it'll last now. Hayden says he'll be able to work next week, which is great. We'll pay him around $150 for his work, I guess. Maybe it's considered a scam to him, but I don't care. He just said he's not a fan of night jobs, but will do it anyways, and he'll play on his phone. That's gonna go down well. Anyways, let's head inside. The Wi-Fi better not be bad inside, I swear. Not much to note from this cutscene. We know we're getting criminally underpaid, and we know that playing on our phone really isn't going to be an option, which just makes me smile from ear to ear personally. Night 4 introduces 2 new characters. However, one of them serves to be more of an annoyance than an actual threat, so we'll talk about him first. Greg is a little asshole. Really, this game's Balloon Boy. Not because he has the same mechanic, except I lied because he kinda does. His main goal is to disable your light and leave you vulnerable to Buster. He'll slowly crawl across your office. You will have to click him multiple times to make him go away. If you don't, he'll park his fat ass on the button and prevent you from using your light. You might be asking yourself, Dxtr, clicking on him? How does the game justify that making sense? Perfect question. From the way the phone guy describes it, it's just poking him. So I guess this motherfucker's just the Pillsbury Doughboy. Ticklish ass robot. The other That's so fucking stupid. The other character introduced on this night is Glancy, what I feel is this game's most frustrating character. Glancy tries to get into the back storage room and just literally fuck up everything in the entire building. Rip wires, killing your lights and your camera. So obviously something you should want to avoid. The way you do so is very easy. Remember how I mentioned the cameras had two states, on and useless? Well, turns out I lied, as the useless mode actually isn't useless. When Glancy gets into this back room, all you have to do is turn the camera lights off and he won't be able to see shit, making him decide to travel into another room by accident. I'd imagine it's an accident since he can't see, but he could have easily just gotten pissed off and left on his own accord. Which, if he can see where the exit is, you'd probably think he could see the wires, but I guess not. We're inside. Now, let's just put some of these cameras around the building and we'll be all set. Oh, never mind. There's a panel lying down on the shelf. Wait. You hear that? Well, anyways, you'll record calls just to convince him, Andrew. Just do a casual voice or whatever. Nice, these'll work. What the? Did I just hear walking? Wait, who are you? Andrew, run. He's looking for me. I'll see you around, friend. Gulp. So we know the name of our phone guy, Andrew. Sounds like whoever is heard in these cutscenes isn't Andrew then. And apparently upon entering the building, something found them. Andrew ran, leaving whoever he was with behind, not knowing what the outcome was. Night 5's phone call actually has something interesting in it, if you could believe that. Andrew tells us that the character introduced on this night has something they want. Finally, a motive for what they're doing. Apparently this new character, Vinard, has a special chip that they really want. Andrew doesn't explain why they want this chip, but I'm sure we're gonna find out. Speaking of Vinard, what does he do? Well, he will try to hack the cameras so that you can't use them, and then wheel his way over to your office to kill you. Not sure why he has to disable the cameras to do that, but he does, I guess. Occasionally, you will see a purple error next to his camera. When you do, all you have to do is go to that camera and turn the light off so he can't see. Because like some people, he can't type without looking at the keyboard. Embarrassing. That's a talent you probably want to learn if you're on a computer all day. But that's really all he does. It really starts to show on this night how difficult this game can be, requiring you to be in the cameras very frequently. The only real chance you'll get to recharge your stability is when Buster is attacking, and I think that was on purpose for the sake of balancing, but maybe I'm being too optimistic. Unlike every other night, Night 5 doesn't have a post-night cutscene, so I can't talk about that. What I can talk about, however, is an Easter egg, and a fun piece of trivia about one of the characters in this game. After completing Night 5, you will unlock Custom Night. Inside, if you set everyone to max and click the Fox plushie in your office, you'll get this jump scare. And if you're interested in something about Vinard, he's actually a character made by Mixlass, the guy that made Tyke & Sons Lumber Co. and Baby's Nightmare Circus, which I've covered on this channel before. Definitely go watch that video after you finish this one. And as a result of using Mixlass's character, Mixlass then used one of Mechless's characters in his game Tyke & Sons Lumber Co. Pretty cool if you ask me. But that is all Project Readjusted has to offer. Overall, I think the game is surprisingly mechanically complex for a first game, something pretty uncommon with fan games that take place in a series like this. But don't let the lack of lore fool you, as Project Readjusted has one of the most interesting stories I've ever seen, and it continues in Project Readjusted too. It's been so long since I've seen Matthew. He just disappeared. I must find him again. I have so many questions. I could possibly get answers from the new Buster's location. The location is currently being renovated, but they must need some kind of guard. Could be hiding there after all this time. Well, let's see where this takes me in my hunt to find him. Project Readjusted 2 opens with a mission already in mind, finding a man named Matthew. I'm unsure who Matthew could be. My only guess at this time is it's the guy that got left behind by Andrew in the first game, but that is obviously unconfirmed as of now. Our player, Andrew, enters an old Buster's location to look for answers, throwing us right into Night 1. Loading into Night 1, we get a call from the phone guy who goes over the basics of what we'll be doing. He mentions that they're currently working on newer models of all the characters. Not a whole lot of interest to point out during this call. However, what is of interest is how scared I was when I first saw the equivalent of 3 fucking music boxes in one camera. But lucky us, we don't have to worry about that right now. Unlike Readjusted 1, this game doesn't have anything to stop you from staring at your cameras for as long as you'd like, which is a breath of fresh air. But that only means that this game is going to be AIDS in a different way, and we'll figure out how soon. Let's talk about the first and only threat Night 1 introduces, Cable Buster, who I'm just going to be calling Buster because I'm lazy. Buster makes use of a new mechanic this game introduces, the Showtime tapes in Camera 1. When Buster gets to either Camera 5 or Camera 7, you will have to look at him. He will be repeating a day of the week. I don't know why he feels the need to say it out loud constantly. Phone guy explained that apparently that's what he's designed to do, walk around the building and inform people when the show is about to start. But why would he say the day of the week if that was the case? I have no idea. Once Buster says what day of the week the show is on, you will have to quickly go to Camera 1, set the sound file to the day of the week he stated, and play the audio track. This will cause him to meander back to Camera 1 and do a little jiggy. Just kidding, he doesn't dance. I just lied to you. Something isn't right. Papers are coming in about a missing person. A missing person at the old Buster's. It must have been the spy that Matthew took care of. He's on the prowl and I will end it in this place. There's no way I can fail this. His tracks are so hidden yet so predictable. I just need more clues. So, Matthew killed a guy, and not just any guy, he killed a spy. So clearly Matthew is probably a bad and dangerous man. So we should approach with caution. Not knowing anything else, we move on to Night 2. Night 2, the phone guy introduces some new mechanics, but fuck him, my voice sounds better. Night 2 introduces Infested Glancer, but before we talk about what he does, we should talk about the second thing our cameras can do. Show some air ducts. Hooray! The air duct menu is very reminiscent of the ones from Ultimate Custom Night. You have a radar that you can use to detect anything moving inside. Spoiler alert, Glancer is inside. You may also notice that there are 3 things you can repair. Are your FNAF 3 senses going off? Because mine are going haywire and it's making me want to off myself. The 3 things to repair are your radar, your lights, and your doors. Glancer will attack any of the 3 vents in your air ducts, all of which lead to your office. Use the radar to find where he is and close the door when he gets too close. You'll notice that you have a meter on this screen that tracks your door power. If it runs out, you'll have to reboot the doors, and of course, after too many uses of your radar, you'll have to reboot that as well. Glancer brings up a very obvious issue. He's fucking annoying, and he's very fast, easily being the most annoying character in this entire game, demanding the majority of your attention like a clingy girlfriend that you're slowly falling out of love with. And of course, the repairs in this game are some of the most frustrating mechanics I've ever had to deal with, spending the majority of my playthrough listening to that ear-grating beeping. This is where camera stalling comes into play. By staring at Glancer, or Buster if you really wanted to, you can prevent them from moving. Glancer does not initially start in the air ducts, so I'd usually spend as long as I possibly could staring at him so he didn't slip away. Because once he's in those ducts is when he becomes Satan. I can't decide on what to do. This whole situation is terrible. One wrong step and I'm in jail or potentially executed. I'm not falling into that hole of guilt with no way to release it. But damn, corpse inside that Glancer suit has definitely gotta be the spy. What else would Matthew have done to the body? Thrown it out? No way. I got my evidence. Now I just have to find Matthew himself. He can't be stopped now. So apparently there's a body inside of Glancer, the spy that Matthew killed. So yeah, that checks out. It really wouldn't be a FNAF game if people weren't getting stuffed into mascot suits, would it? Night 2 introduces two new characters, Magic Suit and Wraith Ned. Let's talk about Ned first since he's less annoying. He's this game's version of a Phantom Chica. Occasionally, he can start to appear on one of your cameras. If you don't look away from him fast enough, he'll jump scare you and cause you to need to repair everything. Your radar, your lights, your doors, your dick. Not super annoying, just get some reflexes and you'll be fine. Magic Suit, on the other hand, is very annoying. This is the guy who thought it'd be really funny to have 3 fucking music boxes at the same time. His 3 plugs will slowly decrease in power. You'll have to keep them charged up if you don't want Magic Suit to Magic Mike you. Fuck. You'll have to keep Fuck. You'll have to keep him charged up if you don't want Magic Suit to Magic Mike you. But in all honesty, these 2 new characters aren't even an issue. This entire game's main problem is Glancer. God, I hate him so much I could just stick a fork in my ass. That doesn't even make any sense, but irrational anger causes irrational responses sometimes. I don't know what to tell you. What the hell was that purple thing? Is the air in this place toxic? What the hell? Can't keep working here. I must escape before I lose my mind. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have a feeling finding Matthew won't be easy. Speaking of which, I found a tape from the old location. That Glancer suit had made itself in the backstage. How? Must have found the pieces from when the original Glancer and Glossy characters were split up and put together. I don't know how sewing those 2 together made any sense, but I guess it was good for Halloween. Scratch that. Anyways, Matthew forced that spy corpse down inside the Glancer suit while it was trying to escape. What is wrong with these chips? I feel like someone is controlling them. No way this is artificially programmed in the animatronics. It's too mobile. Now there's more than one thing I need to find out. Great. So it sounds to me that Glancer put himself together and tried to escape the building, but while doing so, Matthew stuffed a corpse of the spy inside of him. What the hell is going on? I have no idea, but hopefully some more context will come along soon. The only character introduced on Night 4 is Wraith Finn, being in my opinion the second biggest threat in this game. Finn will quietly appear in your office. Up until this point, you haven't had any reason to ever lower your camera. Well, Finn is now your reason. When he appears in your office, you will have to hold your mouse over the top half of his body until he fades away. If you don't, say hello to a fuck ton of repairs and a quick death. Something I find really weird about this mechanic is how it's explained in the game. The phone guy literally tells us to put our cursor over it.
She said she stared at what she saw, putting your cursor right on its upper half. That's kind of specific, but whatever. Just her, I guess. Anyway, good night.
I've never really seen a FNAF game be meta like this before, but I guess, how else are you supposed to explain the mechanic? I suppose you could say to stare at it, but that wouldn't indicate you need to touch it with your mouse. Overall, a very goofy introduction, and a character that I forgot about so much, I think I died to him more than any other character throughout this entire franchise. Okay, I have many questions. How did that design get into this place, and how did it just fade out of existence? It was called Finn. We never got around to finishing it. It was like Buster's pal. The head was never done, but he had his other pieces done. Although I noticed this Finn had his hands gone. This place is so damn weird. Alright, so really nothing interesting said there at all. Finn was supposed to be Buster's friend. Buster's a fucking robot. He has no friends. Moving on to Night 5, as it should be much more interesting and hopefully have a more interesting post-night cutscene. Night 5 introduces the last threat this game has to offer, Wraith Vinard. A character that isn't too terrible to deal with, but will really just act to take more of your needed time away from Glancy, which is obviously not something we want. Vinard only ever appears on camera 8. Occasionally, when checking that camera, you will see Vinard's silhouette with no eyes. You will have to stare at him until his eyes appear. Once they appear, you will then have to quickly look away as if you aren't the fucking reason his eyes appeared in the first place. Something super interesting to note that I haven't mentioned so far is how these wraiths have been explained by the phone guy. Being the only characters he's convinced aren't real. But you might be wondering, if he doesn't think they're real, why does he mention them? That's a good point. Apparently, the guard that worked here before us left several notes about these wraiths, and the phone guy is reading her notes to us in the phone calls. Maybe as an in case, maybe just to make fun of her. Who's to say? Either way, I find it interesting. Vinard. With legs? What is going on anymore? I can't take things seriously. Wait, no. I hear sirens. I still haven't found Matthew. And I got several people outside awaiting my arrival. Police cars. Someone found out. Someone told them. Matthew, you bastard. I will find you. You won't get away with this. I can't believe this is how my story ends. It's not right. I can't. Matthew was never found by any officials or Andrew. Andrew attempted to bring the situation to court, but not enough evidence was collected. Andrew was deemed guilty for the corpse inside Buster's Diner World and was sentenced to death row, his execution following a month after being assigned. This was not the outcome he had thought of. It could have been worse. This story is false. Well, goddamn! Quick recap. In this game, we play as Andrew, the phone guy from the first game. We still don't fully know exactly who Matthew is, but he called the police and informed them that Andrew was at the building and had killed someone. They arrived, found the body in the Glancer suit, and had Andrew killed, giving us the fake ending. Oh god, endings, Dxtr. Let's quickly go over what it takes to get this true ending, please. Well, there are several minigames you will need to complete throughout the game in order to get this true ending. Let's blast through how to get them. During each night, a specific camera will have its name flickering slightly. Clicking on the name will shoot you into the minigame. On night 1, it's the main supply camera. On night 2, it's the West Hall. Night 3, it's the secondary supply entry. Night 4, it's the secondary supply entry again. And night 5, it's the power breaker. After completing all the minigames and successfully beating night 5, you'll get the true ending instead. The minigame. It spoke the words I couldn't find myself. Matthew died with his baby. A tape left on him. I can't explain what I've experienced here. I can't go on with this sudden guilt. This damned children's entertainment chain should have never happened. This outcome was not proper. And I can't handle it. I don't know what will happen next. I'll report the death of him and the corpse to the police. At least I can get off with no charges. I can't put myself to do it. I can't go the route my gut wants me to go. Later the same night, Andrew had a heart attack. No evidence was ever turned into the police due to this. Nearly a week later, police arrived after suspicion from pedestrians roaming the streets. Police had not told any officials about what was found and began to demolish the location. Andrew's story is over. An ending to a tragic story. There are no solutions to the problem. Diner World Entertainment was shut down immediately and ran out of business, seeking a new opportunity to reach into kids' hearts. This is the true story. Well, goddamn! Turns out it didn't matter what he did. Andrew still died, and no word of Matthew was ever heard from the police. We just can't win, can we? Well, luckily for us, this storyline does continue, and even more lucky for us, it continues in the best game in the series, and arguably one of the most creative FNAF games ever designed.
I know who you are, Andrew Vargas. I've seen your name in records before. I know what you're doing. You want information. Lots of it. I'm no provider, but I can lead you to what you want. I know that man, Matthew, has been nothing but a mystery to you. His image is shrouded in a dense fog that your gaze cannot penetrate. But you want to break it, do you not? You can either go the full walk or fall short. There is no try this time. All the information you want to grasp so badly can be obtained. All you have to do is satisfy us. There are 3 captives full of knowledge below the storage facility. Treat them to our satisfaction, and they will live out to the 5th and final day. On that day, they will be free. They will be able to tell you all that they know. This is what you want, right? The data you seek is waiting for you.
And here we are! Project Readjusted 3, the last game in the series and undoubtedly the best. This opening cutscene throws us right into the world of this twisted game. We play as Andrew. That might seem a bit confusing since Andrew died in the last game. But guess what? Apparently, both of the fucking endings weren't real. So what the fuck? I'm not joking, by the way. I'm being completely serious. Both of the endings in the second game aren't real. The true ending isn't real. Both the fake ending and the true ending both didn't fucking happen because it takes place before this one. So like, what the fuck was that all about, huh? Anyways, we're not sure who was speaking to us in that cutscene, but apparently there are 3 survivors that have all the information we need to solve whatever is going on with Matthew. And with that, we're tossed into night 1. This game does progress based on objectives instead of time. But rather than a game like Pizzeria Simulator where the tasks you have to complete are mind-numbing, the task in this game actually requires a small bit of brain power, and is truly one of the most creative takes on a FNAF game I've ever seen. We're tasked with protecting these 3 captives. In the cameras, you'll be able to see 3 rooms. Each of these rooms holds one of the captives. You can keep track of their stats at the bottom of the monitor, see how much hunger, thirst, and satisfaction they're all at. Note how much supply you have. Your goal throughout this night is to send these captives shipments of food and water. Then, once they're all satisfied, the night can end. When you open the gate, food and water will slowly be dispensed. You can control which room these packages will go to. The longer you take to send a captive something, the lower their satisfaction will go. At the top of the screen, you'll see a minimum grade you need to complete the night, and which grade you're currently at. Meaning you don't have to fill each room up to its entirety to complete the night. However, I'm a fucking badass and chose to get the best grade possible on each night. In order to refill your supplies, you will have to complete a task. A set of numbers will appear in a random order and you will have to click them in that order. When you finish, your supply will be slightly filled. Side note, if you ever see this sliding minigame instead of the number 1, that's because in that specific moment, I'm using footage from Indie Fuel. And in his playthrough, he was playing an earlier version of the game that used a different minigame. And that's all that happens on night 1. I could talk about the cameras for sure, but I think that'll become much more important in night 2, which actually brings on the first and main threat this game has to offer. But before we can get to that, in true final game lore dump fashion, after each night we get a post-night minigame to have fun with. In this minigame, we just kinda walk around. We check the stage in the main room and notice that there's supposed to be 2 animatronics on stage, the other being Finn. You may remember him from the second game. We go backstage where we believe Finn should be, only to find a dead child on the ground, bringing this minigame to a close. Something really awesome about this game is the patient hub. Dexter, what's the patient hub? If you'd shut the fuck up and watch the video like a normal person, instead of continuously asking questions like the girl you're watching a movie with that you really wish you didn't invite over because you're just trying to watch the fucking movie, I'd explain it to you. Sorry, lost my temper a little bit. Anyways, the patient hub is on the menu. Using it will actually let you go to talk to the 3 people you're protecting throughout the nights. Throughout the nights, heading to the patient hub, they will give you different pieces of information as the game goes on. On this first night, they don't tell you anything since they've been told they can't yet, probably by whoever put them here. This is such a cool and interesting integration into this game, and I think this is one of the big reasons why this game in particular is so underrated. Night 2 is where this game really starts to get real, introducing the first main threat of the game, Busted. Inside of your monitor, you'll notice the left half that I haven't really mentioned. Well, I'm about to mention it. You'll notice that it only has 3 cameras, but don't let that fool you. Busted will move around the cameras, not only trying to get to you, but to get to the captives as well. If at any point you can't find him on your cameras, that means he's in your office. Your office, by the way, is another thing I've neglected to mention. There are 4 entrances to your office, 2 on each side. You have the 2 obvious hallways in front of you, and then the 2 holes in your walls to the sides of you. Busted is very quiet, so you will have to make sure you're tracking him. Once Busted enters your office, you will have to scare him away with the light. Now, you may think, like most FNAF games, that we'd be given a flashlight, but no, that'd be too easy. In Project Readjusted 3, you're given a fucking glow stick to defend yourself. You know, one of those crack and shake things? Yeah, That's our main means of defense. When Busted is in your office, you have to hold the glow stick on him to scare him away. But there's a catch. Your glow stick cannot be used for very long at all. It has a very short lifespan. So you have to check really fucking quickly. Obviously, if you don't, you'll die. But if you remember, I mentioned Busted being able to attack the captives as well. While watching Busted on your cameras, you may notice that on any of the three, he may get a bit too close to some of the patient doors. If he does, that's how you know he's about to attack them. When you see him doing this, you must ring the bell on your desk. The noise will attract him to your office and away from the patients. Something super interesting about Busted attacking patients is that if he kills one, you don't lose, and it will actually make the remaining nights easier since you'll have less mouths to feed. However, as I'm sure you could have guessed, if a patient dies, they will never come back throughout the rest of the game. That means no more talking to them in the patient hub at the end of the nights. And of course, if you let all 3 patients die, then you will lose the game. This right here is one of the coolest mechanics I've ever seen in a FNAF game. Project Readjusted 3 is literally just being placed in a saw trap, really. In the post-night 2 minigame, we talk with the other guards about what we saw. They mentioned this is the second time this has happened. Walking up to the stage, we find another dead child, presumably killed by Buster. We're told to check the office for anything else, and we do. Upon finding nothing, we walk back, only to see the ghost of some unknown spirit that looks like Finn walking away.
I started seeing some weird things recently. They were purple weird things. It got closer as I blinded myself, but as I looked at it, it faded away. I don't know what to do. At least the leader himself isn't down here. He is very strict. He would be looking at me, making sure I was staying put and acting appropriately. He threatened to stop liquids from coming into my room if I didn't listen. He really wants us to go his way, so just send us supplies like he wants, at least when he is nearby. As long as he doesn't notice you aren't doing what he wants, he should be fine.
This place is a crazed house, and it's all your fault. I can't believe this. You better get out of here in the end. With me alive!
I've started hearing screams. It sounded like it came from a room adjacent to mine. Maybe I'm hallucinating. After all, we are under that old building. You know it had the fume problem, right? Surely you do. You used to work there. You told us all about you. My sister used to work there, but she hasn't touched it since. I think I've figured out why now. Just don't forget about your main threat, but don't let yourself get too paranoid about it. You got this. On night 3, we get introduced to the last threat this game has to offer, the purple hallucinations, explained by the fact that there are strange fumes coming from the facility above. These hallucinations act as a nuisance, but a nuisance you're going to want to maintain. They can appear in any of your cameras or in your office, and they're very quiet. If they're on your cameras, you have to stare at them, and if they're in your office, you have to flash your glow stick at them. They will never kill you themselves, but they will scare the patients if you don't get rid of them. And if the patients get scared, they'll scream, and Busted will kill them. Not at all a difficult threat, but an annoying one nonetheless. The game doesn't really start to get too difficult yet at this point, so let's just move on to the post-night 3 minigame. In the post-night 3 minigame, we really just want to get out of the building at this point. We meet a guard who says that the crowd outside is still going spastic. As we try to walk outside, I'm assuming we start hallucinating? I'm not really sure because I have no idea what else I'm looking at could possibly even be. And the minigame comes to a close.
I'm too paranoid. You need to just get us out of here. The creatures are multiplying. Just more staring. Listen out for a squeal if something goes wrong over here. Those purple figures always come for us. Just make sure to get rid of them, please.
What's going on over on your end? I keep hearing such strange noises. If you want something out of me, you better keep me satisfied. I don't want whatever is coming for you near me. Ring the bell you were given if one of them is heading to my room, I want to ring that bell all the time, since it is causing noises, of course. Don't be stupid.
Hey, I still can't talk about what I know yet, but I think I know something that may help you in your endeavors.
I know some of the quirks of that thing that is hunting you right now. It's very stealthy. You need to keep an eye on it all the time. It may hide in various spots, so make sure to be up to snuff with your surroundings. I don't know much about its chip data, though. I only ever overheard my sister read out some blueprints she picked up on her last workday a few years ago.
Night 4 doesn't introduce anything new, however I do want to take this time to mention a mechanic this game has that makes the entire experience way more difficult than it would normally be. Switching cameras. I know, that may sound like a mechanic that most people wouldn't even think twice about, but it's on this night that Busted can start to get pretty quick when moving around. So quickly moving through the cameras will become important. However, even though there's only 3 cameras, switching through them quickly can prove to be quite nerve-wracking. You cannot click any camera at any time. You can only move to cameras adjacent to the camera you're currently on, which means if you're on camera 1 and want to get to camera 3, you will first have to click on camera 2. Typically, this wouldn't be an issue, but you have to wait for a static animation to play each time you switch a camera before you can switch it again. Sure, the animation itself isn't very long, but when you have to switch as much as you do, that time will quickly add up. Overall, this is more of a nitpick than anything, but it is something I noticed during my playthrough, which you can see on my second channel, Dxtr Black. The post-Night 4 minigame is a little bit weird. We play as the ghost we saw at the end of the post-Night 2 minigame. We walk around the building, talking to children and guards, hearing messages like, "I blame you," and "How can we punish you?" Eventually, we find the body of another child. We say that we can restore it, and upon coming into contact, we get the message, "You must kill them for me."
Just one more to go. Once you left last night, I heard a strange tumbling noise outside. It was metallic and heavy. I don't know what it was, but it may be coming for you this time. Nothing rings a bell, but every time I heard some alarm, it would scamper. I don't think whatever it was likes noise. You have something to play noise? Yes. Please use that to keep yourself safe, but only if it sounds like it's coming close. Using noise at the wrong time may cost you.
You better get me out of here ASAP! I'm done playing these games. If it weren't for that guy holding a pistol to my hand for telling you my information early, I would have been long gone. Get it together! I'm tired of talking to you. Get on with it!
I heard some ruckus outside, friend. I recognized the weird noise pattern from the debugging process from upstairs. Someone was altering the mascot's code. I know this just because of my sister's curiosity. She brought back some pink robot from her workplace to show me how messed up her work environment was. That thing was tossed in the end. It couldn't move regardless, but the same debugging process intro pattern she used was similar to the one I heard upstairs last night. I can only assume that the two systems are related, most likely by the same manufacturer. All I know is that those old models never liked being looked at after some wear and tear. We flashed a light on the pink thing and it sparked a little. It was a very strange find indeed. Well, I hope you can use this information to your advantage tonight. Let's hope we can see the sun once more.
Night 5 introduces one final threat. I know guys, I've been lying constantly throughout this video, but I prefer to call it keeping you on your toes. The final threat introduced is Subject Model 3A, being another annoying character. He will wander around your cameras and you just have to make sure you're not looking at him. If you look at him for too long, I'm assuming you can guess what happens to you. Major bun pounding, salad tossing, you get it. Don't look at him. Overall, he really doesn't add anything new to the mix, really just making it more annoying to keep track of Busted. But if you can complete it, we'll move on to the final minigame. In this final minigame, we play as a child, walking around the restaurant following what appears to be the ghost of a child. We follow them into the back room where the first kid was killed and speak to one of the animatronics. They apologize for what they did to us, probably in reference to killing us. They said their chip made them do it and explained that someone else is pulling the strings and making the robots kill people. It ends off by telling us we will never see it again and to leave. Then the minigame comes to a close.
Andrew Vargas, it seems you have found your way. We cannot say we are surprised at your feat, especially considering your perseverance was quite equal to your past endeavors. You found your sources, exactly what you wanted. Though, did you ever think to look for more data you could use towards your search? The patients you have saved do not hold all of the information, but just enough for you to draw a plausible conclusion. Regardless of your intentions with the data you hold, your time here is over. You have what you came for, but do you feel empty with what you hold? That is a question that will be left in the air for you to grasp. For now, you may take your prized patients outside of this facility with you. Until you find your true desire and recollection, we thank you for playing our game.
I can't believe it! You did it? I'm free from this place? Oh, I must tell you what I know. Well, okay, I was a producer for one of the most popular animatronic performer shows a few years back. I was vital, but I got to the point where I knew too much, and that is how I wound up here. This man was someone I used to work with. He created these things for his own entertainment business, but he eventually took it too far. He created a powerful computer to control all of his creations from a distance, with whatever behavior he wanted. He always left his plans on his work desk, but one day he felt like something was off. Some grew suspicious of his projects, myself included, but I never took it as far as this one group of people. They were dedicated to finding his grand computer. They went as far as setting up hidden cameras around the building to track anything they could, anything that could leave a trace back to its whereabouts. But they never found it, because the man attacked and killed one of them. I saw it on old discarded footage. That is all I know. I hope this helps you.
It took you long enough? Let's make this conversation quick. I was one of the construction employees set to renovate the supply and storage facility for future use. It was gonna be under some childish name like Busters, I think. I was the only one that showed up to the job early, like always. I got to one of the storage trucks I left outside, and that's where my life took a turn. They had a rotting corpse and dismantled robots in that truck, man. A rotting corpse. You could never understand how disgusting that was to see face to face. Sucker fell right out of the truck too, like it was last in line. It was in some blue wreck of a mascot suit. It had a camera stuffed in its mouth. It was horrible. I think you get it now. I went to go get my bag and quit my job, but some gray thing grabbed me and pulled me deeper into that building. Next thing you know, I was dangling for my life. Awesome, right? Well, it pulled me past some satellite. It was covered in those dumb white masks you've seen. The same one the guy is wearing. It's all some weird gimmick. But I know what that gimmick is for. That satellite was being used to get that white rabbit robot back from the depths of the forest, right off of Brickview Boulevard. It had to have been made for that. I'm no fool. I knew about that white monster rumor, and I even went hunting for it one time with the boys. It has to be linked. That's all I got for you. We better not come into contact like this again.
I have to owe you something for your determination, my friend. I'm honored. Oh, right, I do owe you something. I have something to tell you. Before this, I was an aspiring mechanical engineer. Machines have always enticed me, so I had been studying it for months prior to this incident. As you know, my sister had worked at that old supply and storage facility years ago. She was my main inspiration for this interest of mine. That night, when she came home with that pink robot, changed everything for me. We dug into the hardware of the robot ourselves. Our father had some spare tools in the garage, so we didn't have to rip into it to damage the thing even worse. We found a lot of weird oddities. One of the most obvious ones was its back. It had the tips of endoskeleton fingers buried in the suit piece, like it was torn apart by one of its own. Another one was its eye. We found a serial number printed in a fine black font face in the back of the eyelids, but it only routed to a 404 page on our home computer. Lastly, it had a code written on the inside of each of the suit parts. It read Model Pound 3C. I don't know the significance of the C. Maybe it was part of a trio, unless there are models with parts 3D or more. We extracted the chip from the robot, though. It was in a very rough condition, but it was somewhat intact. It even had a USB slot in it, which was extremely new at the time. We plugged the cord into our home computer, but it pulled up a ton of strange prompts. We clicked through all of them and found a folder with many text files inside of it. A lot of it was just a garbled mess, but some had what seemed to be addresses. They were impossible for us to decipher fully. Was this animatronic generation holding locations? That's the strange part. What's even more strange is that it had a file named task.txt amongst all the other distorted file names. We opened it, but for some reason the USB had ejected itself. We tried plugging it back into the computer, but it wouldn't pick it up again. All I was able to see before it disconnected was something along the lines of, "He must see what I have done, and maybe he will realize he should have stayed by my side. I know what I'm doing." That's all that I know, friend. See you on the other side.
Project Readjusted's story doesn't throw the answers at you. It gives you pieces, conversations, job descriptions, weird one-liners, and you're meant to piece together what was really happening behind the walls of Buster's Diner World. But once you line everything up, the picture is pretty clear. Two employees start a project they don't fully understand. It gets out of control, and one of them ends up paying the price for it. It all starts after Buster's shuts down. The public thinks the place is done, the animatronics are boxed up, and everyone has moved on. But Diner World Entertainment hasn't. They're still in the building, still tinkering, and still trying to push something forward. Something they only ever call the project. And at the center of it are two people, Andrew Vargas and his co-worker, Matthew. The two are exploring the closed building long after hours, checking the animatronics, looking through old hardware, and trying to locate something hidden deep inside the cast. Something the company wants extremely badly. A special chip connected to a hostile presence in the animatronics. They can't pull it out safely, they can't study it while it's roaming, and they can't risk handling it directly. So their entire plan is built around one thing: lure the entity into range, pull the chip, replace it, and get out. But they can't do it themselves. They need someone to sit in the office every night, act like a regular night guard, and unintentionally draw the animatronics towards them so Andrew and Matthew can track the patterns. That's where Hayden comes in. On paper, Hayden is just watching the cameras for 6 short nights. In reality, he's bait. Everything he sees, Buster, Glancer, Redeemer, all of it is part of a larger plan to drag this thing out. And for the most part, the plan works. The animatronics are active, the patterns are recorded, the project moves into its second stage. But then something happens that completely derails Matthew. Someone else breaks into the building. A man who isn't supposed to be there. Someone snooping around who gets far too close to whatever Andrew and Matthew are doing. The fandom calls him the spy, and Matthew panics. Instead of letting their secret get out, he kills the intruder. Not an accident, a choice. And it's the moment everything changes. Andrew is horrified, Matthew goes quiet, and from that point on, the two of them aren't on the same page anymore. Not long after that, Matthew disappears. No goodbye, no confession, no explanation. He's just gone. And Andrew is left with two things: a project he no longer trusts, and a friend who might have destroyed himself trying to finish it. When Project Readjusted 2 begins, we're not playing as Hayden anymore. We're someone closer to the company, a technician finishing their final assignment for Diner World Entertainment. This job isn't about survival, it's about data. Watching animatronic behavior, tracking motion patterns, feeding information back into whatever the project is turning into. And in the background of all of this, someone, heavily implied to be Andrew, keeps repeating the same thoughts. He's been gone for so long. I need answers. Where did he go? The entire game feels like Andrew trying to keep the company satisfied while quietly searching for any clue about Matthew's disappearance. Meanwhile, the animatronics are no longer just mascots. They're infested, corrupted, wired shut, and torn open. The prototypes that were experimented on long after Buster's closed. The project has clearly moved forward, and whatever they pulled from those animatronics is now being pushed into something else, something bigger, something human. And Andrew eventually gets the lead he's been waiting for, something that points away from Buster's, away from the diner entirely, and into a new location, a facility the company is tied to, a place where living subjects are being kept alive for testing. And to follow this trial, Andrew makes a deal, a job offer he can't refuse, something that promises answers about Matthew at a cost. That's where Project Readjusted 3 picks up. Andrew is now inside this medical facility, sitting in a monitoring booth, watching over patients who can't leave their rooms. His job is to keep them alive by sending supplies down long, empty hallways, making sure they don't lose consciousness, and trying not to get killed by something stalking him in the dark. A twisted, hulking version of Buster that shouldn't even exist in a place like this. But the deeper Andrew goes, the more obvious it becomes that this facility is just the project's final phase. The animatronics were only the beginning. The chip, the patterns, the experiments, all of it was leading to human testing. And somewhere inside this building, one of the patients isn't just another victim. He's the thing Andrew has been searching for since the moment Matthew vanished. Matthew didn't run. He didn't escape. He didn't move on. He was taken, absorbed into the same project he helped build. In Project Readjusted 3, Matthew is the subjected member, a living test subject altered by the very experiments he and Andrew once tried to control. And that's the real truth behind Project Readjusted. A company digs up something dangerous hidden inside their animatronics. 2 employees tried to pull off a secret extraction, someone dies, one of them vanishes, and years later the entire operation has grown into a human experimentation program, with Matthew trapped at the center of it, and Andrew desperately trying to undo the damage. This game never spells everything out, and the dev has even said the full story was never completely written down, but from what everything we do see, the trilogy comes down to a single idea. They started the project together, Andrew survived it, Matthew didn't. But as far as I could gather, and as far as I'm aware, that's all Project Readjusted has to offer.
What's the best Five Nights at Freddy's fan game ever made? I think there's a few answers that could really give a valid argument. Maybe you think it's One Night at Flumpty's. Maybe you think Pop Goes. Or maybe you're super wrong and think Five Nights at Candy's 2. God, I fucking hate that stupid game so much. It's so goddamn boring and repetitive. I'd rather stick my dick in a toaster than play it. But hey, that's probably a video for another day. I should mention that the title of this video says the best FNAF fan game, but what that really means is from a gameplay standpoint. How fun is it to actually play? Maybe after hearing that, your answer has changed. The game we'll be covering in this video is, in my opinion, the best FNAF fan game from a gameplay standpoint that has ever been made, The Joy of Creation, Storyborn. Fun fact, Markiplier also agrees with me on this point.
I'm not even lying about that. This was amazing. This is by far the best Five Nights at Freddy's fan game ever made, just from a gameplay standpoint. And I'm only speaking from a gameplay standpoint.
So yeah, Markiplier and I are basically best friends. Mark, if you're watching, best friend, leave a comment that just says, "Peep." That way everyone will know that we are canonically best friends. Thanks, my boy. Before we begin, I'd like to greatly apologize for my lack of videos in the last 2, probably 3 weeks as of the time of this going up. I just got done moving to a new city and starting my new full-time job, so I have not had any free time. But I'm finally back in the groove, and I have a set work schedule that won't change, so expect uploads to be more frequent now. I plan on releasing 1 video a week on the White channel. Don't quote me on that, but I will definitely try my best to keep it up. Also, big news, we have a community Discord server now. Hooray! A while back I asked you guys in a community post if you wanted a Discord server, and the majority of you said yes. So I hunkered down and actually got one created. It probably isn't the best, but with your guys' suggestions, I'm sure we can make it a place where we all want to hang out and chat with each other. You can join using the link in the description. In the last video, I asked you all what your favorite monster from the web of cogs and oil was. My favorite comment was this one by Ads the Flareon. They chose the corpse, and while my favorite is the Trickster, I really like the thought process behind this answer. Flareon says that they're so desensitized to animatronics that the machine isn't even on the table for favorite. They go on to say how out of place the corpse feels and how that alone makes it the creepiest.
Jesus, would he just get to the topic of the video already? Yap, yap, yap. That's all this bozo does. Listen, I hear you. You don't need to be a dick. Let's get to the video. The Joy of Creation story mode is, as I'm sure you already know, not the first game in the Joy of Creation series, but let's all be honest with each other, it's easily the first one that's actually enjoyable to play. The original Joy of Creation might actually be the most boring experience of all time. It consisted of you sitting in a chair, spinning in a circle, and flashing your flashlight at everything you see for an infinite amount of time. That's right, there wasn't even a time system. Story mode, however, is absolutely amazing, so let's get into it. The game opens with a cutscene. We play as an adult named Nick Cawthon. Recognize that last name? Well, you should, and don't worry, I'll be talking about it in a bit. Nick walks up to an old house in the middle of the woods and recounts how long it's been since he's last been there, insinuating that something terrible happened inside before. We get a flashback detailing the start of what happened, and we're shifted into the point of view of a new character named Michael. Michael wakes up in a basement. We find out it is in fact not Michael's basement, and is instead Scott Cawthon's? What the fuck? Regardless, Scott asks Michael what he's doing in their house. Michael states that he doesn't know, and a child version of Nick convinces Scott and Val, who is Scott's wife, to let Michael stay the night at their house. Absolutely, positively, possibly one of the worst plays I've ever witnessed in my whole entire life. You found a guy in your basement, talked to him for 3 minutes, got a solid 0 answers from him, and allowed him to stay in your house overnight while your wife and child are inside. Absolutely brilliant. This is when we enter the first, what the game calls, memories. I can't call them nights since all of the challenges we will play through actually happen at pretty much the exact same time. For Memory 1, we are in a bedroom in a crib, where we play as Nick again, this time as a child. We wake up in the middle of the night during a thunderstorm, and Michael starts talking through Nick's baby monitor, effectively acting as the phone guy of this memory. Michael explains to Nick that there are monsters trying to get him, and explains in detail how to fend them all off, explaining that at 6 a.m., the monsters will all go away, and we're thrown into the first challenge. Unlike in most FNAF games where you slowly are introduced to each animatronic throughout the nights, adding more and more stress as it goes on, Story Mode opts to do something different. Story Mode throws essentially every animatronic on your nuts all at once. This memory has Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy in it. I'll now go over all of their mechanics. Before I dive into the character mechanics, I'll start by mentioning the lamp. Behind you there is a lamp. By turning it on, you calm yourself down. Having the lamp off for too long will lead to you having intense visual and auditory hallucinations before inevitably losing the run. Now, I'll start with Chica since she's by far the easiest to deal with. Chica comes from your closet. There will be a noticeable audio cue when she opens the closet door. When she does, you'll have to turn off your lamp and wait for her to go back into the closet. Personally, I didn't know Chica swang that way, but I think it's pretty sick. Next, I'll go over Bonnie. Bonnie comes from your bedroom door. He will make a notable audio cue like Chica. He will knock on the door 3 times. When you hear this, you'll need to be quick, because you only have so long to react. When you hear the knocks, you'll have to quickly shut your lamp off and lay down in your crib. I should mention that laying down is a mechanic, and if you lay down while Chica's in your room, she'll kill you. After laying down in bed, Bonnie will slam your door open, look around, and then leave the room again, which tells you that it's safe to get back up and turn your lamp back on. Bonnie has this really weird mechanic. I'm not sure if it's a bug or if it's intended. However, a lot of the time, I'd say about 50% at least, when you hear Bonnie knock, he'll never end up coming into the room, which caused me on multiple occasions to shut the lamp off and lay down, only for the sound of Bonnie coming into the room to never play, meaning I end up laying down for way longer than I should, which pretty obviously fucks me over. Next, we'll talk about Freddy. Freddy appears at the window next to your crib. When he does, all you need to do is close the curtains to prevent him from seeing you. After a few moments, you'll hear a quiet sound cue letting you know he's left, and it's free to open your curtains again. But what if you hear Bonnie knocking or Chica coming in while you're holding off Freddy? Well, I'll tell you, you'll just get bread in the butt. So when you shart Bonnie's jizz on the toilet after being bread in the butt, we can talk about Foxy. Oh my god, Foxy. Foxy's under your bed like your weird uncle. Occasionally, you'll hear him scratching his hook on your bedpost. Well, at least, that's what Michael says that he's doing. I personally subscribe to the belief that he's scratching his hook on his big fat stupid balls. When you hear him doing this, you know that he will soon be attacking. A while after the sound cue, you will be able to see Foxy's hook on the back of your bed. When you do, you know you don't have much time left until he attacks, so quickly turn off your lamp, lay down, and close your eyes. Oh yeah, forgot to mention you can close your eyes while laying down. It's just used for Foxy, which is why I didn't say anything. Repeat this ass cycle enough times and congrats, you've beaten the first memory. Only 4 more left to go. The second memory takes place in the living room of the house. In this memory, you play as Scott's wife, Val. We start with a cutscene where Scott tells Val that he's going to make sure Nick is okay, since both of them are pretty uncomfortable with Michael staying in the house, which bodes the question, why the fuck did you even let him in? Regardless, Scott leaves and Val is left alone. This game mode is honestly probably my favorite. I personally feel it is the most terrifying out of the rest. In this memory, rather than being confined to one area like normal FNAF games, you're freely able to move around. Just like in the last memory, you have to survive until 6 AM against all 4 main animatronics. Michael tells us that we're fucked and to just hide. Thanks, Michael. Very helpful. Since Michael was no fucking help at all, allow me to explain what it is you're supposed to do on this night. Let's start with Foxy and Freddy. These two act identical to one another. Each come down the hallway on one side of the living room. You can check how far away they are by turning the TV on while watching their cameras. Yeah, for some reason Foxy and Freddy have cameras mounted on their faces or something. I'm not really sure, but we don't question it. You can stall one of them at a time by holding down a button. Somehow. I don't really know, guys. I really like this memory, but this part actually makes no sense. Please bear with me. Get it? Bear. Like Freddy. Like Freddy, because Freddy's like Freddy Fazbear. Like he's a bear. Bear with me. Do you get it, guys? Guys, do you get because he's like a bear? You'll notice that Foxy and Freddy both move at the same speed. So if you don't begin stalling one of them, they will reach your room at the same time, which will mean immediate death for you. How do you keep them out? I hear you asking. Well, guess what? You don't. That's right. The animatronics in this night will literally enter the room you are in and try and find you, so you'll need to hide from them when they open the door. The way you hide from Foxy and Freddy is by hiding right next to the door that they'll be opening. The only problem with this is that when you're standing next to one door, you're right in the line of sight for the other, meaning that if you're hiding from Freddy and Foxy opens the door, he'll see you and promptly kill you. This is why stalling one of them is super important, as you'll be able to control and create a pattern at which they will come to the doors. Now let's talk about Bonnie. Along with the 2 doors that Foxy and Freddy come from, there are also double doors to the living room as well. I really have no idea why there are so many entrances to the living room. This house is a fucking maze. Bonnie doesn't have a camera, so you can't watch him directly. Instead, you'll have to walk over to the double doors and look through the keyhole to see how close he is. Once he gets close enough that you'll be able to smell the grease on his fuzzy nutsack, you just have to hide on either side of the double door and wait for Bonnie to arrive and close the door. Which brings yet another issue. When you're hiding from Bonnie, whichever side of the door you're on will leave you vulnerable to either Freddy or Foxy, so you'll really have to balance and know where Foxy and Freddy are at all times. It's the reason why I really like this memory. I really like micromanagement in games that are both hard but fair. This is why I think 1020 mode in FNAF 2 is such bullshit, because it's actually just not fair, especially Toy Bonnie. Toy Bonnie is the reason why it took me 14 hours to complete that stupid fucking mode. If you want me to make a video talking in detail about why I hate that mode specifically, let me know in the comments below. With Bonnie, Freddy, and Foxy being gone over, the only character left to talk about is Chica. Chica is easily the weakest character in this night, very similar to last night. Chica will randomly appear next to one of the windows in the living room. You'll be able to tell because she starts growling? What? She's a fucking chicken. Why would she growl? Whatever, that doesn't matter. When she does, you'll have to get up from the couch. I should have probably mentioned that when you look at the TV to check on Freddy and Foxy, you have to sit down on the couch. I didn't think it was important when I was writing that part of the script, but I just remembered while writing this part, and I'm honestly way too lazy to go back and edit that part of the video to add one sentence. So instead, I opted to add in a whole nother section just to explain why I didn't explain that part of the game before, arguably padding for runtime, even though this video would have been well over 15 minutes without it. Hopefully you enjoyed this section of Dxtr Over Explains. Anyway, when you hear Chica growling, you'll have to stand up from the couch and not move until you hear the growling stop. Once you do, you're free to move again. If you move, Chica will jump scare you, which actually doesn't kill you until the final hour. Instead, it will just send you back to the couch and you won't be able to check the cameras for a while. Chica is easily the weakest part of this memory, as previously stated. She just feels so shallow compared to the other three. I know the other three all do the exact same thing, but they do so in a way that feels interesting. They do so in unison, as even though they do the same thing, they all work together in a way that keeps up the intensity all night. Chica just feels so out of place. After 6 a.m., this memory is over and we can move on to the next one. The next memory takes place in the office where you play as Scott Cawthon himself. This memory starts with Scott going to check on Nick, but of course, we both know what Nick and Val are going through at the moment. Now it's Scott's turn. Scott sees Freddy and starts running. I'm talking haul assin'. His house starts going batshit crazy and Scott hides in his office. He listens to a tape he left himself on how to defeat the animatronics that he made. I try to wrap my head around this section and the lore implications behind why he was leaving himself recordings, but I'm honestly too tired and way more focused on the gameplay in this game. This night is okay, I guess. It's interesting at the least, and it's very clearly just a large improvement from the first Joy of Creation game. Instead of just spinning in a circle and flashing your light when you find animatronics, you actually instead have to actively search for each animatronic. Let's start with Freddy, since he's both the easiest to deal with and the weirdest overall. Freddy can appear in any of the 4 entrances to the office: the front door, the window, the other window, and the closet. Just like the living room, this memory is free roam, so you'll move around to find the animatronics. When you find Freddy, just flash him with your flashlight and he'll leave. Something very interesting about Freddy that I should note: if left unanswered, Freddy will not kill you throughout the memory. Rather, he acts as a check for the end of it. If you reach 6 a.m. and Freddy is in one of the locations where you could find him, he'll kill you, so you have to make sure that you're really on top of him. I'll talk about Foxy next. On your desk you'll find 3 monitors with cameras! It's been so long, really starting to feel like classic FNAF now. You can look through the cameras on these monitors to find Foxy. When you do, all you have to do is look at him on said cameras. Eventually he'll have a seizure and leave. That's it, pretty simple. But of course, the characters in this game tend to like to work together to make your life more difficult. So that brings me to Bonnie. You can also find Bonnie on the cameras. However, if you see Bonnie on the cameras, make sure not to look at him directly. If you do, he'll punch the shit out of your camera, and you'll no longer be able to look at it for the rest of the memory. Instead, you have to go to the location corresponding to which camera you saw him on, and flash him with your light to make him go away. Now we can talk about Chica, who, unlike the last 2 memories, is actually my favorite. So, there's this giant fucking hole in the wall of your office. I don't know why. You also don't know why, so we won't question it. Chica will try to fit her big fat hairy ass through it slowly, and I do mean slowly. Slow as fuck. So slow. Once she begins to wriggle and writhe in your hole, pause. Once she begins to shake on your hole, pause. Fuck. Once she begins to force herself through your hole, pause. God damn it. You know what? Once she starts to move, you have to get up and find 3 cupcakes hidden around your room. Once you do, she'll leave. These cupcakes can be hidden in drawers, behind posters, and my favorite, in the fucking garbage. Since it may take you a bit of time to find these cupcakes while working on dealing with the other animatronics, if you look at Chica, she will stop moving, giving you more time to look for the cupcakes. Congrats, you little stinker. Once you hit 6 a.m., if Freddy is gone, you're free to move on to Memory 4.
Memory 4 is by far the most different and intuitive. I will say, I'm not super sure how it works, so I'm sorry if my explanation is god-awful. In fact, since I'm so nervous I'll be god-awful, I'll let my best friend Markiplier that I mentioned earlier take it away. It's totally gonna be him giving a detailed explanation of this memory, and totally not just me doing a montage edit of his playthrough of this memory with a little bit of commentary. Mark, please don't copyright this, we're best friends.
My name is Markiplier. It's time to go into the basement. Whoa.
Kids! Are any of you there? I found your note. Daddy's here. You must be really scared, but I'm here. I created you. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. How is this happening? What are you? What are you?
Ow! Ah, good. Yes, you put me in the shitty toilet. Oh, good. Thank you for that. Why is this in my basement? Okay. All right, then. Am I not gonna get any information about this one? Am I just gonna be left to my own devices? There seems to be a lot of 6 on the walls here. Oh, hi! Hello? Who are you? Yeah, I gotta get through the door. I'm gonna try to sneak over to the bathroom again. Why did I come in here? I didn't need to come in here. Oh! Ah! We come from the fire! I need a cupcake, I need a triangle, I need a swirkly-doo, I need a roll. I don't know what any of those are. Ah! I am in the furnace! There must be like... Oh, what the fuck? Okay, I got a hook. Oh, okay, that's in the furnace now. Well, that's good to know. Okay. No? Alright then. Yee. Okay. Nope, you're still there. Okay, that's a problem. Yeah, I'm right there. Okay, got it. It's gone quiet. What? How does that make sense? We've got 4 more to go, and that one took a while. Many shapes, all similar, but different. Oh, it's a code thing, isn't it? Alright. Ah, wait, okay, the numbers coincide with the number of creatures. 9632. I'm not sure I'm too happy about this, but there we go. So, Wait! Okay! Oh boy, oh hi, okay. Doop, be doop, be doop. Oh, that's not good. Yeah. Oh god, it's a code. Of course it's over there. I don't know the code for this one. Bonnie with 4. So Freddy had 3. Bonnie 4. Foxy 2. As it leaves Chica with 1, right? Oh, I see. Okay. They're colored. Okay. Chica first. Foxy second. Ooh. What? Okay. Oh. Oh, I can close it behind me. Alrighty then. Got the key. I don't know! Okay, where am I now? Pressing forward because I got nothing better to do and I have a funny feeling I'm gonna die. Okay, keep going. Okay, don't look back. I'm not gonna look back. Why would I look back? Okay, I looked back. I don't know what that did, but I did it. Ah! Ah! That's why you don't stupidly look back. All right, number 2. Oh, that was number 3. Oh, we act, we posed, we played, we stopped, we stared, we scream. Hi, Golden Freddy. Oh, he remains. Oh. What do I do about this? Oh, hi. What the fuck? Oh, hi. Oh my god. Okay. Holy shit, I saw that movement. Ooh. Oh, no door! Oh, we're in no door land. I got a bad feeling about this. Oh, everything's gone. Excuse me. Hello. Oh, it's his computer. Hey, I made it! Simple tricks of the mind or something more sinister? I don't know. I don't know what that means! Bye-bye!
Wasn't that sick? Thank you, Markiplier. Truly my best friend of all time. Finally, it's time to talk about the final memory of this game, which takes place in the attic. In this memory, you play as Scott again. Michael beats your shit up and ties you to a chair in the attic. He tells you that you're gonna burn and die, because fire in Five Nights at Freddy's is like beans on toast to British people. I don't know if I'd call them people though. Gonna be real, don't really give a shit what Michael has to say. I'm much more concerned about the fire in my goddamn house. In this night, you go up against 2 endoskeletons, Golden Freddy, and The Creation. Oh my god, Creation! Like the joy of creation, that's the name of the game. Isn't that so cool? Oh, that's so fucking cool. I'm gonna scrub my nuts on a cactus. Anyway, The Creation is the coolest part of this memory, so I'll cover it last. Let's start with the poopy ass Golden Freddy. Unlike other memories, surviving isn't enough to complete it. Instead, you actively have a task to complete. In this case, you have to find Golden Freddy on your cameras 12 times and shock him. Once you do, you finish the memory. Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? Wrong, you fucking idiot, it's actually pretty bullshit. Wanna know why? Because of The Creation, but I'll get to the poopy ass Creation in a minute. First I have to talk about the stupid bumbling endoskeletons. So as I was double checking their mechanics, I learned that the endoskeletons are actually called the Fallen. Pretty cool, I suppose, and typing the Fallen is way easier than typing endoskeletons over and over again, so that's what I'll be calling them. In your cameras, you can switch from the house cameras to the attic cameras. It's on these attic cameras where you can see the Fallen. Inside of the attic, there are 2 large doors. Each Fallen will come from one of these doors. When you hear their enormous fat asses trampling down the hall, just make sure you close the door on the correct side of your attic to not have your ass blasted. I should also mention that Golden Freddy can appear in your office all transparent like. I don't really know what happens if he does this, as every time I saw him I quickly looked away out of habit from FNAF 2. Now we can get to Poop Dog, aka The Creation. The Creation will start in the basement of your house. As the memory progresses, The Creation will make his way through the house and to the attic where you are. Now, I know just by looking at him, you may be thinking, God damn, that robot is really hot. And I agree. However, this is not the character you're going to want to rule 30 for you. He'll bend you like a contortionist, but we both know full well that you can't bend like that, so you'd probably just end up dying. On your cameras, you'll see these 4 markers that represent doors or barriers. As the Creation moves, he will break his way through these barriers in an attempt to get to you. You can use your shock to send him back a phase in the cameras, but this brings up an issue. Your shock has a painfully slow recharge time, and if you flash the Creation, then you won't be able to flash Golden Freddy to win. Finding the perfect balance between flashing these 2 is key to defeating this memory. Once you've found and flashed the 12th and final Golden Freddy, the attic memory will be completed. As far as gameplay goes, that's where the Joy of Creation story mode comes to a close. There's multiple other things along with an enormous timeline to dissect, but I'd rather die. I like talking about how the game plays, and in that case, Joy of Creation story mode is top notch. Every single memory plays completely differently, and I think this is the main reason why it's so good. With other fan games and even the originals themselves, you quickly understand what you need to do and can then begin to come up with strategies that allow you to not use certain intended parts of the game. For example, FNAF 2. In FNAF 2, there are a lot of cameras. Like, a lot. However, you only ever need to use 1. That's not very interesting when you think about it. You actually have no good reason to ever look at any of the other cameras in the game because the music box is all that matters. Same goes with FNAF 1. The only cameras you have to look at are the right corner cameras to make sure Freddy stays put, and occasionally you'll have to check on Foxy, but if you're playing correctly, you don't even have to look at Foxy in order to win. The Joy of Creation story mode switches up the gameplay loop every night. None of the nights are terribly complex, leaving out the attic, but since you have to learn something new each night, that's not something I have a problem with. I think if you were to take one of these memories from this game and turn it into a standalone game, I wouldn't like the game very much, because repeating formulas just isn't fun in any game. Don't keep repeating yourself, or if you do, make sure that it's repeated in a way that's interesting. For example, Undertale. While that whole game is based around an RPG battle mechanic, every enemy has unique and different attack patterns to learn, and just when you get bored of dodging projectiles, the game switches it up and changes the mechanics and physics of the heart you play as. It's brilliant, and so is this game. I think if more FNAF devs took inspiration for how this game plays out, overall, we would have a lot more fan games that stand out and are fresh and exciting. But let me know what you think in the comments below. The question of the video is, what is your favorite memory from the Joy of Creation story mode? With the question being asked, I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you all in the next video. See ya! So when you shart out by... Damn it! So when you Fuck! I personally subscribe to the belief that he's scratching his hook on his big fat stupid balls. Chica will try to fit her big oh, fuck. Chica will try to fit her big damn it. Once she begins to wriggle and writhe in your hole, pause. Because fire and Five Nights at Freddy's is like beans on toast to British people. I don't know if I'd call them people though. Gotta be... Creation, like the Joy of Creation. That's the name of the game. Isn't that so cool? That's so fucking cool. I'm gonna scrub my nuts on a fuck. God. Let's start with the poopy ass golden friend. I did not just laugh at poopy ass.